You guys ready to start this? Here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 10th annual Lightsaber Choreography Competition. I was going to wait for the applause. Yay!
Oh, we're applauding?
Yay! Yeah, we're doing a thing here. We're going to be doing the judging here. This is Down in Front's third year of doing the judging, if I am not mistaken. And it's going to be the best one ever because we have the most entries, highest quality across the board, and the most people on the panel, which brings us to myself, as always, Teague Chrystie. Over there, a judge, Michael Dorkman Scot.
Hello. From
the RVD, RVD2, and all the fan films that ever needed rotoscoping universe. Pan on over, we got Trey the Amazing Stokes.
Hi, what's up?
Who is the creator of Pink 5, Arc on Hulu, and the director of Asylum's 2010 Moby Dick.
Thank you.
What up? Next to him is Ryan Wieber Finifter from The Injured Stormtrooper.
Greetings.
Thanksgiving with the Crances, A Lost Hope, and appearing in 2010 Moby Dick.
Several times.
And moving down the line, we've got Eddie the Eddie Doty.
That's me indeed.
World famous editor, fight choreographer, everything, including, weren't you the stunt coordinator for Return of Pink 5?
Still am, apparently.
Cool.
He will always be.
Knows his
Perpetual
lightsaber shit.
perpetuity.
Next to Eddie, we got Ryan the Wieber.
Howdy.
Nobody calls him that. He's also from Ryan vs. Dorkman, Ryan vs. Dorkman 2. Also, Ryan vs. Brandon, Ryan vs. Brandon 2. Am I forgetting, am I forgetting orientations?
Brandon versus Godzilla?
There's a bunch of them.
No, it doesn't like crossover or anything.
And to complete the circle, it's Brandon Flyte from Ryan vs. Brandon 2, and the Contenders, right? Yeah. Which is another one that shows up in all those little best of lists. So this is your judging panel for the year. And our entries are laid out on our stream here. You're going to be seeing a stream of the entries that's going to be showing our lower third indicating who is talking, just so you can keep up with all these voices. And as we play through them, we're going to just run commentary on them. We're going to save the judging until the end. Once we've gone through everyone's entry, we're going to talk about the contest at large. We're going to take a 5-minute break, come back, and tell you who won. Now, in the middle of this whole thing, we are going to have an intermission. It was asked that we could have an intermission so that we can, not only us, but you guys can pee and not be on the edge of your seat wondering what you're missing.
You guys don't have a catheter in? Or?
No, I mean, I do. I figured everyone did.
I'm taking this seriously.
Any
It's
case.
the third year of this. Come on.
What do we have, like 18, 19 entries this year? So we're probably going to take a break around entry 9 or 10, something like that. Yep. So with that all in mind, are you guys ready to judge yourselves some lightsaber choreography? Yay! Cool. Now let's. Someone who's been here and judged a few years, can someone explain what you're judging on, what your criteria is? Someone? Eddie, Ryan, Dorkman? Anyone?
Okay.
What are the criteria?
Well, it's tricky. I mean, obviously, this is a choreography competition first and foremost. So for me personally, I'm judging primarily on choreography. That being said, to me, choreography means not only what you're doing with the lightsabers, but also what you're doing physically, how you're kind of utilizing the space of wherever you may be. The camera work, to me, is an integral part of choreography. The camera is basically a third or fourth or fifth or however many you have combatant in my view for really good choreography. But production value helps, but that's certainly not the primary thing that I'm tending to judge on.
The main challenge to the judges is to try to divorce the sort of production value of the film from the actual choreography itself. That is to say, there should be able to be entries that aren't really, really polished looking. They have no effects. They're not shot really great, but you can still look at it and judge the choreography for what it is, and and go from there.
Yeah,
so.
I mean the like I said, the camera work to me is part of the choreography, but if there's really good camera work, but the choreography of the actual lightsabers is not necessarily there, then that's going to make a difference.
Yeah, certainly.
Cool. So here's how this is going to work. We are going to be streaming these entries, so you don't have to go over to YouTube and sync them up. But if you wish to, I'm going to be doing a 3, 2, 1 unpause for each of them. That is to say, when I say unpause, in fact, if you want to be real specific, when I say the P sound in unpause, it's called a plosive. You're going to press play at the very beginning of your YouTube video, and it'll sync right up with us.
So do they know where to go and pull up these YouTube videos? Are they all public now? And
yeah, they've all been online.
On
in fact, one of them has been listed on Reddit.
Yeah, I'm trying to look that up so I can.
It was on Reddit. Our videos the other day.
Our videos, okay.
Yeah. When I checked this morning, it was on page 4 now. Your moment of fame is done. Anyway, let's get started. So we're going to start at the beginning, which is a very good place to start, with Dmitry Kubishkin. You guys ready to go? If you're on YouTube, get up to the beginning of that YouTube video. Here we go. 3, 2, 1, unpause. And we're in. Ricky Elliott did the intro, as he has seemed to do every single year.
I really like the intro this year. I gotta say,
Yeah, it's
it's
good
got
stuff.
A X-Men First Class vault feel to it.
It's classy. So this is a nice logo. What we're looking at is a nice logo here. Although it does feel kind of proper to start the whole thing off with this fake 20th Century Fox thing. I mean, that's nice. It does have it gives it a little bit of gravitas, even if it's fake gravitas.
It's like the same thing in, like
Artificial gravitas.
full-on fan films that, like, it could be the worst thing ever, but it still has that long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. And guess what? You still get kind of stoked.
Yeah, exactly.
It's so divisive.
Unless the font is wrong. God. All right, so we're talking about Dmitry Kubishkin here. What are we seeing with this entry? People walking.
Well, yeah, people walking. That is the thing. I'm not quite sure, and I'm not picking on Dmitry because basically everyone does it every year. It's like we don't need a minute and a half of them walking or running or trying to just get to it.
It is really long-winded.
Yeah. I mean, this one's not that long. I'm just saying as a general note.
This is not the worst offender.
Yeah.
The sabers look nice.
Yeah.
I would generally say you don't have to overthink your motivation. You can just have two guys on a field. I don't like you. I don't like you either. That's fine. You don't have to do some sort of preamble thing. If the fight is entertaining enough, you can get right into it.
I agree with that. The point I would add is make sure that the relationship is clear. There's so many, and again, it's one of those things that happens every year where it's the banging stick phenomenon, where you clearly are not trying to actually hit the other person. Which, if you set up this scenario right, and there's a couple in there that do this, where it's clear that the two characters are not actually trying to kill each other, fine. But if the scenario, and we have no reason to think otherwise, if the scenario is these two people are trying to kill each other, and they're clearly not taking opportunities that they would otherwise, then that, to me, does impact choreography.
One small criticism I have of this one so far is there seems to be just the gentleman with the single saber versus the dual saber. There was a lot of waiting, just waiting for the other guy to catch up. I would say, you kind of always have to be in motion, or at least you have to perform as if there was a thought process behind what you're doing. You can't just sort of wait for the other guy. Now, if you want to go for something where the other guy is just sort of toying with him and is just sort of, allowing the guy to overextend, that's fine, but you have to be conscious of how that, presents itself on screen.
Yeah, there have been moments in this one where it feels, like you said, very much not just waiting, but sort of if the kind of artifice of the choreography comes out, because it's like I'm going to hold my lightsaber here so you can hit it 3 times, as opposed to feeling like he's actually trying to defend or attack or anything like that.
You can feel the intent or lack thereof in that performance.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's very much like normal acting in the sense that if you can tell that the person is acting as hard as they can, then you see the artifice behind it, and it's really, you should never have that thought. You should never see behind that.
You love William
curtain.
Shatner.
Yes, but ironically. So, it should... The key aspect of choreography, just like regular acting, is it feels like, a sincere fight or a sincere interaction between two human beings that hasn't been planned out beforehand.
And this is something we'll probably touch on a lot as we are wont to do in these things. But every move should have the intention to kill. I mean, these guys are fighting presumptively to the death unless your story dictates otherwise. Every move should have the intention to land. Therefore, the defender should have every intention to defend, and every movement in those beats has to be designed clearly for that. Every part of the body has to be designed towards delivering the intention to either attack or to defend an attack.
Indeed.
Cool.
Yeah.
I just want to say that was really cool, solid, good VFX. I don't know, it's cool. I like it.
Thank you,
Nice.
Brandon.
Cool. Now let's go around the room real quick. Does anyone have anything they want to add to this? Any critiques or anything like that, just in general, before we move on?
General, and again, this is a general note for not just this entry, but it happens in other entries, but this happens to be the first one. If you're dual wielding lightsabers, like one in each hand as opposed to a single staff, part of the point of that is that you've got a lightsaber in each hand, so you can do different things. A lot of times I end up seeing they're swinging both in the same direction at the same time, and they might as well be using a single lightsaber, and so it makes it's not utilizing the full potential of that kind of weapon set.
It could be used for effect, I think, because it's like, it'll appear at least twice as strong, or if you're trying to deliver some sort of really strong blow, but it has to be used sort of sparingly.
Yes, yeah.
Fair enough. Cool. You guys ready to move on to the next one here?
Anyone else? Anything else?
Anyone else got anything to add to that? Wow. Kicking ass. All right. Then what we're going to do is we're going to transfer over to Joel Lucas. You're at the beginning of the YouTube video. If you wish to sync up, 3, 2, 1, unpause. Damn it, Ricky! We're going to be watching this. This is his secret way of getting his thing seen a lot. Is he puts it on the beginning of every entry. This is how he rakes up the YouTube views. Now this is
that's not how that works. I don't think.
This is the one called Jedi.
Jedi, yes.
Yeah. So we got a lot of influences going on here.
One, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, this one's cool. Now this is a sort of a counterexample where this has an intro that is not brief, but it's actually very economic and important because the setup between the relationships of these characters really are going to be relevant to how they actually engage each other in this fight. And I thought that was really useful. More than just two people are fighting and it's just how exactly are they bashing sticks. This one there's a lot of character that's instilled into these folks and how they're going to be fighting and all that stuff. And it also kind of gets you revved up and sort of behind one or the other. Like you actually can kind of have an opinion about them aside from just how they look and how they perform. So
we're still waiting for some lightsaber action here.
Yeah.
And any of the shooters on the panel want to talk about the cinematography of this one? Nobody here is a professional. Nobody here is a professional cinematographer.
I do think it's an interesting choice. I don't necessarily mind that it's black and white. I mean, that's a cool, interesting choice.
Plus, it saves you all that time with color balance.
It does. In something like this, I don't mind adding a story or a larger picture to it, but the larger picture of this doesn't really work for me. I think it's mostly the acting. I'm sorry, guys, but it's
not adding up.
It's just not there.
And there's also a short film just in general. I thought it was well done and cool and it's nice. We see so many things that are just people walking up to each other and fighting. It's nice to see something that's actually a full-on story and it's set in the Star Wars universe and stuff. And I kind of like that. And also I like that it is black and white, and when they get to the saber action, the sabers aren't rendered in color. I kept waiting. Oh man, I hope these aren't.
Like, we're gonna Schindler's List to this thing.
Yeah.
Although in terms of story, there is a big conservation of ninjutsu problem here going on. He's like, there's 20 Jedi that he's gonna have to fight, and that's gonna be amazing, and he just cuts them all down until the last guy.
Here's the thing. I kind of like that because, I mean, at the end of the day, the fight should just be another sort of vehicle for story. And I like the fact that you need to set up your bad guy. And I'm of the opinion your bad guy most of the time needs to be very strong and needs to, in some ways, be stronger than your protagonist because you want that tension. Exceptions obviously exist, but I think setting him up in such a way where you buy him as a threat. I like that. I like that it comes down to one dude. It's classic, fight storytelling in the sense that.
Well, I agree with that. I don't agree that it sets him up as a badass dude because the crowd of Jedi don't give him an issue. Right. So it's
your beef is more with the execution.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, it literally is the conservation of ninjutsu trope, which is if you have to fight a ninja one-on-one, it's going to be this epic battle. But if you have to fight 30 or 50 ninjas, then you. For the sake of screen economy, you have to cut through them all like that.
Yeah, it is. I mean, multiple attackers, it's tough to choreograph. Not because of what you're doing one-on-one. It's the guys on the periphery and making them look like not complete, incompetent, and nincompoops.
It's the classic trope. It's like, guys, if we rush him at once, I think we'll take him. Why aren't we doing that?
That's my main sort of problem. I mean, I like everything that happens sort of on paper, but to me, when you got the big crowd and the guys are kind of waiting around to jump in, I don't usually buy it as, they're waiting for the opportune time to get in there. I'm kind of like,
if they all threw their lightsabers at him, they'd probably get it.
Right, exactly.
I don't think he could block all that. That's from a storytelling, it's purely a storytelling thing. I mean, and a filmmaking thing. My first thought was, wow, they got a lot of guys out there in outfits to do that whole scene. That's impressive. But from the standpoint of the film, I think I do agree with the idea of make the bad guy as bad as possible, so you are afraid of him and you understand the stakes. I think he did whatever he did at the beginning with his like dust cloud thing. It's like I think story wise. Yes, you lose a lot of cool choreography, but story-wise, and I'm only talking story, I would have just had him like, whatever that was, that kills them all. Oh yeah, you got 20 guys. Blam! Now it's just you. Let's do this.
Or while
That's how bad the
blinded-
bad guy is.
Or while
Yeah.
they're blinded, he force runs between all of them.
Exactly. It's
slices
just
them
it's
down.
over.
Yeah.
It's like that's how bad this guy is.
I do want to give a quick shout out. I did appreciate at the beginning sort of the good guy because he's in white and I can tell. Like using traditional Japanese jiu-jitsu because Japanese jiu-jitsu originally came as a way for samurais to defend themselves, when they did not have their blades drawn. So it was meant primarily to handle an armed attacker, and they do that very well. That particular technique right there, it's not really anything. It's kind of like a half kata hajime, but it's not really like, I don't know, it's not executed properly. But I applaud the effort towards incorporating this and staying true to the motive of the story and the theme and the aesthetic.
Talk fighting to me, Eddie. Ooh.
I agree, and it's this. They're actually, this is not the only one. There are several entries this year where I kind of the idea of it and what they're trying to do I really like, but in one way or another the execution kind of doesn't quite fulfill it perfectly. And I think this one's for the most part really good, and I applaud just doing a cool thing like this that's got some style. It's got more character than it usually has, and it's got it's trying to do a thing, And I think for the most part I end up liking that more than I end up being annoyed by watching it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, ultimately, it comes down to what we talked about at the beginning, which is, are you judging choreography or are you judging the production values and stuff like that? Because if this were a short film competition, that would be one thing, and this would definitely be one of the front runners. But
and that's what we have to keep in mind.
Yeah, but the question is in this case specifically about the choreography and how that settles into everything else.
So overall critiques for the fight. Anyone got anything to contribute, just in terms of things they could do better next time?
Hang on, Brandon was.
Oh, I was just gonna say as a side note, I actually really like the location too. Like it's one of the more unique ones, as simple as it is. Yeah.
I was gonna say the effort is there, I think, and there's a lot to like about it. I think just tighten the lug nuts down a little bit more in sort of every little way. Just make the technique a little tighter, make the dialogue, make the acting a little tighter, make the production design a little tighter, and you've really got something. But keep going in that direction, and I think you're almost there. Like it's really like on the verge of being something extraordinarily special. So.
Cool. Ready to move on?
Yep.
We're plowing through these things this year, man. We got more entries. Anyway, so we're gonna swing on over to Mikhail Fedotov. If you're at the beginning of your YouTube video, like I am, 3, 2, 1, unpause.
Are all our entries from Russia this year? Is this like an outsourcing kind of a thing, or they're shipping American lightsaber jobs overseas?
Well,
What
last
is
year
happening?
it was Konstantin Razumov who won, wasn't
Yeah.
it? I think he was from Russia.
You just automatically get the great location if you're in the former Soviet Union.
Ah, yes, this one.
Now, this brings straight to the front what we were just earlier saying about how you don't necessarily need good camera work, and that's true. But
You get that in stereo from
if you're going to do that, then you really have to take the choreography aside from if you're going to take the camera work out of the choreography equation, what's left in the choreography equation has to be really, really significant. And this feels, and may very well be, I get the sense this is
Live sparring.
live sparring.
That's what I thought too.
It feels like live sparring, which is great. There's good intensity and intent and stuff like that, but it feels very kind of flaily. It's like because you don't quite know what the other person's going to do, so you'll go up when the other person goes down and stuff like that. And obviously, even in a choreographed duel, you want to make it look like you don't know what the other person's going to do. But you need that for it to be a little bit tighter and to flow a little bit better, because the other thing that happens in live sparring is that people will tend to settle into their favorite moves and their favorite combos, and so it then becomes very kind of repetitive. And
I was gonna say live sparring. If you watch the excellent making of Ryan versus Brandon 2, you'll see that live sparring is a great way.
Yeah, that got thrown down just now. What up?
Live sparring is a really good way for brainstorming. Live sparring is a really good way. I absolutely encourage people to live spar, film it, and look and say, "Hey, that was good. That was a nice beat," or "Man, that was awful. Let's never do that again." But it's a great way to come up with ideas. But I wouldn't commit that as like an actual quote choreographed piece.
I maybe I should hang out with you guys. I don't think I've ever live sparred with this as many successful hits. But so I do think that there is at least a large component of this that is choreographed. But that just brings us closer to the point that I'll use this one as an example to make, which is that here we have everything else sort of dissolved away into we're just watching choreography in its purest form. And to me, especially for something at the length that we're looking at it here, there really does need to be sort of an arc to it, you know, a story that needs to unfold through it, and not just in terms of like literally, you know, like physically moving through a room and doing things, or someone getting injured or things like that. Like as simple as just the idea that there is a progression in the style of the fighting, or just purely the intensity. And they make an effort, you know, toward the back third. Then we get a second red lightsaber, and then things get a little more energetic. But overall, it feels the same from the beginning to the end, and that's the thing that, you know, sort of you're over after just a minute of watching it. And so
you want to see a beginning, a middle, and an end.
You need
right?
you need a progression. You need to tell a bit of a story with it, and I don't think this one does that very effectively.
I'm going to jump in with a technical question. These are practical sabers they're using.
Yes. Yeah.
Which is just from a technical standpoint.
Also,
I'm like,
they're
wow.
They're also
okay.
from Russia, and in Russia that exists.
They
now.
have those in Russia, like we always knew.
Also hoverboards,
just like the UFOs.
I think in Russia those are real sabers.
Yeah, they have,
like those are actual laser swords.
I'm impressed by that. I'm wondering if that maybe affects how hard they're able to hit, but you know, whatever those things are that they're using. But I would love to see this on stage. I want to see this on stage live because this is a live thing, and it's fascinating. And I'm actually probably a little more positive about the overall filmmaking. Oh, there was a cut just there. I'm more positive about the approach on this, you know, because I kind of like the sparsity of it. I recognize that the choreography would be more invigorating if there was cuts and all that kind of stuff. But this obviously that doesn't seem to be the goal with this. Whether that, you know, whatever that means to the competition that we're having is one thing, but just looking at this at face value, I really like the way this is set up. Of it's two guys who are kind of just messing around in the gym, but then it goes into this sort of, you know, I think mental picture of what they feel like they're doing or whatever, and then back out of it again. And the fact that it's practical and is being done in continuous takes, I think is fascinating. I think it's, you know, I think it's really well done for what it is.
No, let me be clear. Like what they do, they are doing very well. But for the majority of the duration of while you were talking, they were settled into a repetitive pattern that lasted the entire time.
I would make this shorter.
Yes. Yeah.
I'm looking at the bar of the scrolling right now, going,
Right.
oh my god.
That's a really good point. I mean, if this thing were 35 seconds long, I think we might actually.
Yeah, it could sustain longer than that, even, you know, and many much more than that. Yeah, you would want to maybe see some cuts, at least to a wide to a close. But you know, I like seeing the big wide picture and watch them do their thing for a period of time is fun. Just for the sheer, you know, they've whether by just luck or proper choices of location, but they've got a reflective floor. They've got windows in the corner, so you see all those interactive reflections are all happening, which totally tell you those things are real. That's not an effect. That's clear. You know, they're being interactively lit, and that's fascinating to look at.
So how'd they do in general? I mean, in terms of delivering a fight and some choreography for us to look at, do you have any critiques or comments or thoughts?
To me, it kind of felt like that might be what a real fight with lightsabers could look like, but it's not like movie pretty. You know, it's not like it. You know, it doesn't feel like a movie fight scene. So I mean that's kind of, in my opinion, against it. But yeah.
Yeah, I think it goes to what Trey was saying as well. It's more the kind of thing that you would probably want to do in a stage production and a stage thing, because it'd be great. It'd be great on stage, and you don't want to get too nuts with the choreography because you've only got one take.
That's very
so that is a different case, and maybe that's what it is. Maybe these are, you know, more stage guys, and that's where that's coming from.
And I think it's just important to note that there is a solid difference between stage combat and film combat, specifically for that reason. Stage combat, everything has to be big, and Trey is absolutely right. If you saw that on the stage, irrespective of the context, yeah, awesome. You know, it's just something to be aware of when it translates to, you know, to something that you do film. But I would say overall, these guys did a good job. Just dial it in and keep going down this path because you're onto something.
Cool. Let's move on to John Sullivan. Get your YouTube video ready if you're at the beginning like I am. Wow, I just screwed the pooch on that one.
Never mind. We
Sorry.
gotta go.
Let's go back to looking at us while I fail. Here, someone talk about Saber Shop Sabers. Somebody. Is anyone qualified? All right, we're good. Sorry. My bad.
All right.
QuickTime is confusing, man.
Ooh, that was close.
He was totally about to do it too.
All right, you're at the beginning of John Sullivan's like I have 3, 2, 1 on pause. Sorry, John.
See what
God damn
happens
it,
when you do it live?
Yeah, exactly.
One take, people.
Now this one was interesting. I thought this one had some really
Oh, yeah.
interesting storytelling stuff going on in it.
This one is.
It's also really invigorating in the beginning.
Yeah.
Marvin's just got the eye of the tiger right from the top, man.
Oh man, I just sliced Marvin in the face.
There's
yeah. Go ahead.
No,
No, I was just gonna say. I remember I was watching this the first time, and my kids today with the cameras. Like we would have killed for a camera for to be able to get a picture like this.
No, that was so funny going through the YouTube videos. It's like all of these have 720p versions.
Yeah, all of these are awesome.
This is Canon T2i, right?
Yeah, I believe so. But
I do like they start to try to get a little more creative, and like the shot where he jumps the thing swinging, and they're starting to get a little interesting. I'm a little unclear as I was watching this the first time. Like Marvin seems a little sort of stunned or disoriented for a minute there, and gets pushed into the wall and then knocked down, and he looks very defeated and doesn't try to get back up. And then in the next shot, he's like, "Okay, I'm back up. I'm into it." And I was kind of, it confused things for me a little bit. That little bit's a little funky right there. I'm not. They don't look like they're really connecting. So.
Yeah, they're definitely. This is good choreography, or at least from a layman, it feels like good choreography. But it definitely feels like there are moments that jump out at me as being like, okay, I don't quite that moment clearly doesn't fit. So this moment clearly doesn't fit in an otherwise. Also, is it just me? How do you guys feel about sometimes lightsabers being there and sometimes not? Personally, I find it distracting, and I wish if I understand lightsabers take a long
Just
time.
go all or nothing.
Yeah, lightsabers take a long time to do, and sometimes you run out of time, but. All or nothing, because when it goes back and forth between shots,
there's an entry later that has just contact flashes. I think for the most part.
Yeah, which also works for me. Whatever you decide to do, just make sure you're consistent about it. Personally, for me.
Well, I mean, clearly this is a case of not having time to roto the sabers, but the point is, yes, if you don't have it all rotoed, I think it probably is better to just not have them. Yeah. Although the contact flashes, I think that's a different kind of case because that does, as long as you are consistent with that, I'm not so bothered by that.
And
but
of
yes,
course,
the on and off of saber to next that makes me watch thinking, oh, there's a shot they rotoed and there's a shot they didn't, and I'm not engaged in the thing I'm watching. I'm engaged in the process of how they made the thing that I'm watching.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Any general critiques for the whole show there though?
I would say that I a lot of that, like you pointed out, the middle section where I'm pretty sure it was just air fighting. I'm pretty sure that we're just kind of improving. And that I think there was definitely a good amount of other choreography. The one thing I would say is you hear people complain a lot about the people online who want to critique things, being like, oh, he could have killed him there, he had an opening there. That's going to happen in any fight scene. It's one, but I will say it's one thing when the fight's going really quickly and it's like, okay, then maybe that person you can rationalize, maybe that person wouldn't have thought of it. But when the fight is going very slow and there's a lot of time in between, when there's a lot of time in between moves, then it becomes really apparent, okay, he totally thought about it and chose not to. That's how it feels. He chose not to take that opening for some reason.
Right.
And so it becomes more distracting. So if you're gonna you're gonna want to kind of tighten up the choreography, I think, and also practice it so you can do it more quickly, so those kinds of moments stand out less visibly.
It's funny. I almost wish the people from the last fight and these guys would just hang out and just put some, I'm truly, because I think these guys could benefit from a lot more live sparring and a lot more like, hey, let's actually try to make contact, let's actually try to, because I think a lot of creativity will come from that, and I think the other team would benefit from, hey, these are some of the things you can do with camera to accentuate your choreography, because I actually did like, by and large, what they did with the camera to
I like the camera,
accentuate sort of what they were going for. But I think these last two entries sort of would fit together perfectly in sort of elevating everybody.
Interesting.
I like camera work on this one. Like, I think it really helped some fighting that may have not have been as intense as it could have been. But I mean, that's good. That's probably what a fight scene should do is use the camera in a way that really showcases it well.
Cool. Let's move on to VLE Smith. If you're over on YouTube there, go ahead and pop in your DVD or blurry of V. Ellie Smith's entry. Get to the beginning of YouTube, like I am here. 3, 2, 1, on pause. Ricky!
I like this intro much better than the last one.
Yeah.
Oh, this one is way
no,
better.
No, I mean like the one right before that we just watched. Like this one, I think was a lot better.
This one is really interesting. This has some very cool storytelling stuff going on in it.
I legit love the premise and the setup of it. I
Yes,
think
the
it's
setup is fun.
very, very charming.
Also, it's sexy.
And a pretty nice little dolly there. Like hey, we got a track here, folks. That's fun. Maybe it's on top of a toy car. I don't know, but
Title of one of the greatest films ever made.
Yeah. The setup is nice. I almost wish they had gone all the way with it and just had the two characters like run and just like slam into each other face first a couple of times. Or just like these are the yeah, exactly. Just the kids are playing with them. That would have been pretty awesome.
There's we're about to see a neat little acrobatic jumpy flippy thing to avoid the whip, which I like. But there are a number of other times where we're kind of doing show-offy, jumpy, spinny stuff for not a real motivated reason, and that kind of bugs me. But I love it in cases like that where you're actually using it.
Yeah, and I don't know if the whip was rotoed or actually like animated, but either way, good job.
It feels animated to me.
yeah, I think in a situation like this where you're fighting with someone that has a weapon that has a clear range advantage, flipping away is fine, but flipping with your feet towards her giant weapon, maybe not the best call. Like just, especially you have a very athletic lead here who can do some really cool stuff. Apply a bit more, practical logic to it, and I think it'll pay dividends off.
I feel like from just sort of a story arc aspect to this one, we set up with a declaration that this female character is super powerful, not just in terms of she's got a whip and she's got a saber and she can hold her own, but she's using a lot of force powers. And I kind of thought that was going to sort of come back later and become more relevant, but it ends up being sort of a just, I don't know, just a little intro thing.
See, I'm on the fence about it because there's very clearly some logic issues behind this, and yet the setup is it's actually just a kid playing. So really, given that scenario, you wouldn't expect a lot of story logic there. So
it's true.
So is that an intentional justification, or is it still just oversight of storytelling?
It's also a
probably
matter
an
of
oversight.
like the urgency of the fight. Like how hard do they want to try to kill each other? Like is that really, are they playing with each other? You know what I mean? It's sort of
right. Again, it goes back to the basics of this. What is the scenario, and what are the characters actually trying to do?
Because you absolutely can do films where the intention is not that they're trying to kill each other with every move, and we saw that I think a couple competitions.
There are a couple in here that
Mm-hmm.
I would say this is sort of kind of what we were talking about earlier. It is tough when you have one performer that is clearly much better in terms of fighting than the other person, especially when the person who is better is your good guy. Because they do I gotta say a good job of trying to keep it competitive and to try to keep it believable that she has this much of a challenge for the protagonist. But there's some it's an obvious difference in sort of skill wise. So if you have that, you just have to be conscious of choreographing to whoever is weaker to their strengths. You master weaknesses, you accentuate their strengths, and that's just something to keep in mind when you're dealing with something like this.
Two things. I'm not entirely sure of why the gigantic Neo shockwave when he does the kip up punch down into the floor thing. I think it was meant to be kind of like revving up for like the Uber conclusion that then we flash cut and kind of all right, time to go, sort of a thing. But it plays a little funny.
Yeah,
also when we white out and then we go to the model, like for a second I thought we just got Shyamalan and it was like all her fantasy, not the kids.
Ooh. I think that's,
Or is it?
yeah, I think that's the case of it. Is there's a setup here that really, and it's you guys are kind of saying it in a certain way, really doesn't quite pay off. It's like, okay, well, if this is a kid playing with action figures, how is that manifested in the fight? Or could we, if you're doing that, like my thought would be like, okay, well, if it was a kid playing with action figures and that was going to be my idea of what the framing story is, then at the end I would have a completely unrelated character come in, like Super Mario would come in and win the fight, or Godzilla would come in and kill them both, or something,
exactly.
Pay off the idea of this is a kid's playing lightsabers in his head game? You know, what's the end of that? How does that end?
Or to rework it in a way that would require you to change it somewhat is if you don't actually sort of intro with the playing with toys, so you're not new to that. So
that could work too.
Then the ending exactly.
If you had a fight, it could work. It would be risky, but if you had a fight where there were a couple of elements you go, that was weird. But then at the end you go, oh, because it was a kid playing with action figures and he made that happen. And okay, if you could make that work, that would be a great way to do it. Or my thought was like, what if it was two kids playing with action figures and one was a girl? It's like, I don't want to play action figures with you because you're a girl. But in the fantasy, the girl kicks the guy's ass because it's a fantasy, so she can do whatever she wants. Something like that. Just one more piece of the puzzle I thought it needed.
It's something really like the opening of Toy Story 3, where it's just kind of this crazy, mashup of. Okay, so it's these two fighting, and then Godzilla comes in, and then it's like it's the beginning of the movie. What are you talking about? Yeah, exactly. And then you play fun, you have fun with that. You see where that takes you.
In terms of the actual fight itself, I want to just mention that down to the the choreography, I found that this one is like a number of other ones where most of the moves are right equidistant between the two people and between the head and the torso. And the thing about that is when it's all just clanging where if you were to not block it or miss it, you wouldn't hit the other one, that's kind of a problem because, what was the motivation of that strike? You're having a fight. So that's one thing. And then also just sort of the monotony of keeping it right in between, and there's not a lot of stuff that's really high or low or around, or, it doesn't really explore, more sort of interesting or intricate choreography. This isn't the worst offender, but this is just the first one that I'm kind of bringing up this note to, and I think there's a fair amount of little pieces in here that could have been just more creative from that standpoint. It's kind of the one step up from left, right, up, down sort of a thing.
Right on. Anyone else got anything on that? Or shall we move on to Albert Kinkle? If you're on your YouTube video, get to the beginning there. It's a funny name. Sorry.
I got to use my last name my entire life.
It might be Kinkel. I don't know. I'm sorry, Albert. Anyway, so you're at the beginning, like we are here. 3, 2, 1, on pause. Ricky! There's a lot of entries. We're trying to remember what we're looking at. Oh, the prize. The prize.
Which one was this? The prize. Of course.
Oh, this one. Dude, where do you live?
Yeah.
Yeah, neat location.
I want your backyard very badly.
Kinkleville.
Wow.
In reality and on Foursquare.
Yeah.
This is what we have to do when the lightsaber fights don't start early.
We got some real lightsaber magic about to happen through the leaves here that I'm very impressed by.
Yeah,
I just want to point that out.
Crap.
This choreography wise, this has some good stuff. I get the sense that these guys are probably fencers.
Yeah.
In the way that they design the choreography in certain little moments, but I like clever moments like this where you just go up and grab him and try and get him to cut his own head off.
Get it right to the point.
Yeah.
It is very rhythmic. The technique is solid. The intention is there. Lower body and the upper body is on point. It is just very beat, beat. That's the only thing I would say is that just massage it into a flow a little bit more. With that said, everything else is more or less working in Kingletown. Dude. I say this out of love. My name is Eddie Doty, for Christ's sakes. Come on.
Yeah, I think there were certain moments where a little earlier I think right when he gets away from having his own saber up against his neck, they swipe at each other like 3 or 4 times consecutively, and they're dodging away from it. That's a moment that could work really well if it were done super fast.
Mm-hmm.
But because it's done as a very rhythmic beat, like you were saying, it feels a little more artificial. So, like you said, I think choreography wise, there's a lot of really clever stuff here. It just needs to be really. Yeah. It just needs to be amped up, I think.
I think you hit it on the head. It's like it's sort of the timing of it makes it feel actually rather robotic. And then as soon as you don't feel any sort of the real improvisational or you're kind of missing some of the drama of it, And certain little moments are kind of, I think, milked a little too long. Like they can play as much quicker. You have time to see it. The swords glow.
If anything, the footwork is maybe overthought just a bit because they literally are mirroring, step forward, step back, on every strike. And part of massaging will, maybe grind some of those moments down a little bit, and some of the footwork will be just a bit more fluid in transition.
Yeah. The choreography I thought was pretty cool and technical, and the camera work really helped it out too. Also, I want to see the sequel where the headless body comes and gets its revenge. I don't know what that would be. I really liked that joke. I thought that was yeah, I guess it was a joke.
No, he was serious, man.
But also, kind of an interesting note that was a whole fight scene I think with fast shutter speed. So yeah, you don't get motion blurry sabers. Kind of interesting. But yeah, that was cool. I liked it.
Any general notes for those guys if they were to do it again?
I think basically what we already said, just spend a little more time kind of finessing it so that you can really do it quickly. And if you find yourself in a situation where you've got, because it's very technical, and if you find yourself in a situation where it's difficult to do it quickly, then it's not a bad thing to alter the choreography here and there to make it flow better. You may want to consider that occasionally. Like there may be a moment that you're really proud of technically coming up with, but if you can't execute it, it's better to simplify it just slightly so that you can flow from move 1 to move 3 instead of trying to hit 1, 2, and 3 all.
No one will know what
once.
you didn't do.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, other than what you guys already touched upon, I thought it was very simple in a good way, very just kind of elegant and simple and self-contained, and simple in the way that you want to be simple. I think because simple is better than being needlessly complex.
You're right on track.
Cool. Let's move on to Philip. Let's move on to Phil.
Yeah,
You totally deserve that.
What's your point? Yeah, good note. All right,
Even a broken director is right twice a day.
Okay.
or something like that.
Lambsdorff. Phil Lambsdorff. I'll call him because
Back overseas,
I'm unsure about that GRAF. I think it's Graf. Graf.
You know what we should do next
like
year?
the Zeppelin.
We should say like where they're all from. Like
Oh, that'd be
like
kind of
what
fun.
country
Yeah.
and stuff, because I bet
Because some Americans have weird, funky foreign names, so we can't necessarily know.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a problem.
We're the melting pot, man.
Suddenly, when we had this immigration thing,
Anyway, let's move on. You're at the beginning of the YouTube video for Phil. 3, 2, 1 on pause.
the fact that there's two P's at the end of Philip tells me he's a foreigner.
Philip. Ricky. Ah, yes, this one.
Oh, this is the gentleman whose YouTube handle is the next Ryan Wieber.
Oh,
all right.
way to suck up.
All right, let's talk. So
All right, you're talking to Ryan.
Oh
now.
dear.
I'm gonna give you one. It's actually almost not even a choreography. Well, do you guys want to talk about it as it's happening, and then I'll do this as a recap thing at the end. No, I'll
We'll talk about the choreography while you're on the mic, though. Look at it. Say something.
Yeah. So no, this is cool. I think for the most part they're doing a lot of good things. It feels kind of like someone who's early on doing. This is one of their first fights. They're working it out. They're figuring things out. And the things that they're doing right so far are they're moving around a lot. They're traveling, which is nice because you don't. A lot of folks start out just facing each other and then just going at it, and it's very dull. Things like that little grapple are. I like that they're doing it, although the performance was kind of wacky. He sort of just gave up, And I think for the most part, my beasts with this one are mostly performance related. I think that you could potentially take a lot of this stuff and shot a little different, performed a bit different. You would actually come out with something that's fairly strong.
Yeah, there's some interesting things that I saw going on. At one point, when their sabers first meet, they swing, and there's an insert of it hitting up at the top, basically. That was, I'm not sure why they did that. It's an interesting. I mean, it's an interesting thing to do, but it feels like if you're going to do something like that, don't do it unmotivated. If you're trying to, maybe it's just because they didn't finish the effects and they intended to put sparks and stuff like that. So maybe that.
I have a feeling that's what it is.
Yeah, but even then, it's sort of okay. When you do something like that, you're giving me the expectation of okay, the fact that even though it's lightsabers and we know that this is how it works, it's like within the realm of this film, the rules are you hit something and sparks fly. And if you're going to emphasize it like that, I feel like that's meant to come back, and maybe it is because we've only got we got a to be continued and everything.
True.
But it I don't know. Suddenly you're setting up an expectation that I'm looking for and is not necessarily there. So when you do stuff like that, be aware of what you're telling your audience to expect and understand.
Anything else to say about this guy here?
There's also some, like Ryan says, I think it's very clear that these guys are in the process of working out. There's also some 180 degree issues that jumped out at me personally, which is just a matter of like, nobody really understands the whole 180 rule and all of that crap until you really do it for a while, and just keep working at it and you'll eventually figure it out. But there's a lot of times where the camera jumped that 180 line and it popped out at me and threw me off in the process of it.
Yeah, Google the 180 rule for filmmaking or cinematography, really.
I would just say, obviously this is a younger guy, he's still learning a lot, but for what he's doing at his age, I think is very good, and you're on a very good path.
Watch
so
him
far.
be like 39.
Yeah, right. So, the next but
he's been at this for like 20 years.
If I would say, this is kind of like a global note for everybody, but since it kind of jumped out at me at the middle of it, the little grapple sequence. If you're going to grapple and try to control a person with a touch weapon like a saber, which if any time it touches you, you're kind of dead.
It's like Pam Anderson.
Don't control so much the arm. Don't control so much the arm, but go for like wrist control. You can Google and YouTube a lot of like wrist control techniques, Ikeo Sancho, things like that. Like no, it's okay. But like or look at like Kali and Eskrima, like things like techniques called like roofing. You know what I mean? Like there's other ways to like that'll just make it a bit more believable, because if you grab at the elbow or at the arm, it's just like, okay, he can still manipulate his wrist and kind of still chop your head off because he is holding a laser sword. But other than that, just sort of that's for everybody, but specifically here because it jumped out at me.
Yeah, I'd agree with most of what's said. I did think there was some really interesting, clever, technical choreography happening, but I think a little more practice and polish could have made it play better.
So the one thing I wanted to say, and this is just sort of a blink out to everyone who is getting started and trying to figure this stuff out, because it's actually a specific email question that I get sometimes, which is, they say, how do you, if you're shooting it with one camera, how do you make it look fluid, like it's all continuous, And this entry had a lot of problems with sort of, as you're seeing it, you feel the energy start and stop within each shot. It's like, here's what we're doing in this shot, and then you don't have that continuity going from one shot to the next. And so the answer is you just have to do a little bit more before and a little bit after each shot you're doing. So if you've got moves 1, 2, and 3 in one shot, and then 4, 5, and 6 in the next one, in your first shot you should do 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 5, and so that you have that intention and all of that energy heading out of your shot and then coming into the next one. The second shot should start at 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6. And it's really that simple. But next time you're making your fight, keep that in mind, and you'll have a lot better continuity through it.
Weirdly enough, that's a good tip for animators too. So many people animate where frame 1, nothing is happening yet, and everything starts to happen, and you can always spot that in animation if people have done that.
Cool. Shall we move on to David Keener? You're at the beginning of your YouTube video. 3, 2, 1. Unpause, man. Ricky. He's always in every video. It's like every video.
I'm getting tired of the logo.
He should recuse himself.
This was a really short entry.
Did I blink and miss it?
Yeah, it's over now.
Where are the credits?
Yeah.
Nice.
No,
Okay.
that was it. It's like On with the Wind. They have the credits in the beginning.
I liked it.
It's good, short,
sweet.
This is Hilltop Duel. All right, who wants to go first?
I love this one. I'm really charmed by this one, and I think that's just a good way to put it. Charming. With that said,
why do you love it, Eddie?
I dig it from a technical standpoint. These kids have this insane, almost like I think Mike coined the term patty cake style, which I really dig. But like everything is aimed. I mean, they're not the hardest hits, but these kids seem to understand better than most people that you don't need to swing a Louisville Slugger when it's a laser sword. You know what I mean? Like these kids just know, and they've got
they're fast.
They're very fast. This reminds me a lot of like a Chisao drill or like a Huba drill from Screama, and like it's just very, these kids are just extraordinarily quick, and everything is aimed. Like say what you want, everything is aimed. There's definitely some unnecessary spinning and flips and stuff, but there's never not one moment where they're not committed to this.
Right. Well,
awesome.
That's the thing. I mean, it it's very fast, and it's fast without being super duper repetitive. You can tell they had to memorize an entire sequence. They're not just doing 3 or 4 moves over and over again. They had to memorize a sequence and really get it down so they could do it fast. But like you say, it turns it into feeling more like a drill. That was a really good way to say it. Or I almost felt like it's a juggling act or something. Like it's impressive, but it's not a fight. It's a thing that they're doing together. You know,
That was a really cool move you just pulled off.
It's clearly super rehearsed
and very
they're-
technical.
They're mega fast, and it's the actual choreography itself is one of the most complex in this batch this year.
And then bicycle chase.
Yeah, but
So, as a note, like you shouldn't ride bikes without shoes on.
Yeah.
It's just kind of dangerous.
I was watching this with Brandon, and he's going, "Where are their parents?" But
They live in Peanuts Land.
Yeah. But
I gotta say,
anyway, you go.
as a father, like this is one of those things where if I caught my 12-year-old son doing, and my son's not 12, but when he becomes 12, if I caught him doing this and he showed this to me, I'd be mad, but then I'd be like,
super proud.
well done. Well done.
Yeah.
Jesus, don't ever do that again, but good job.
When I was in high school, I made a car chase movie with actual cars, and everyone was kind of like, "That was awesome. Don't do that." But it was awesome. But don't do that. But it was cool. So I was already
Minus
told.
the fact that they're not wearing shoes. This is really, really impressive.
Yeah, I'm just so worried about
so
this.
technical and so fast. Like I don't know what they're fighting with. Is that just super thin wooden dowels or
Yeah,
Maybe fishing lines?
fishing?
it's fantastic.
Yeah, it's great.
The
Good
but
job.
the
fishing
saber
rods,
fight on
man.
bicycles right away already honorable mention special award. That's because I ain't never seen that one before. That's fantastic. Yeah, that's tough. I'm just so glad that I've got a whole mental picture of how this got made, where like these guys are like they live 4 blocks apart and they happen to both be wearing the same Star Wars shirt one day, and now they're friends and they've worked this whole thing out. That's my whole story about this. Don't ruin it for me.
And
That's
30
what I
years
think
of
this
running
is.
Warner Brothers.
Yeah, exactly. They're gonna be right in the next Transformers movie.
I think the next thing for these guys to work out is sort of how to how to milk a moment and take their time, because it's like clearly the speed and the energy is not the thing they have trouble with. They've got that covered. So the next thing is sort of which parts to slow down and which parts to sort of get a little more engaged with and spend time on, and then get in for close-ups and have a little more drama, a little acting and all that kind of stuff.
I would also say to work on kind of intent, because like we talked about, they're moving and the choreography is clearly designed as strikes to the body, but you don't get a sense that they're, because it's going so fast, it's just here, 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 here. You don't get a sense of the actual intent of an individual move.
I wonder if it's because their sabers were so light.
It's possible, but a lot of that is in the body language and in the performance. And that was the other thing that I was going to say is I think that these guys would be really well served by studying some kind of like martial arts if you can find it, because just the posture and footwork and stuff like that will be really, you got a really great big piece of the puzzle right now. And if you can get like the posture and stuff like that and really learn how to make it look like you're trying to fight as opposed to just being really impressive and hitting all of the beats in a really technical way, that's going to elevate you to the next level.
I can't wait to see if these guys enter next year.
Also, one thing that's kind of cool too is this is probably one of those examples where the camera work isn't super sophisticated, and we've kind of knocked that in other entries. But when the performance is that good and when it's that fast and intense, you don't really notice it. So it's kind of cool.
To go off of what Mike said, yeah, you guys definitely have the choreography down. The next piece of the puzzle is the actual acting, more of it is the actual nonverbal, but behavioral acting of intent. Of this is your character, and this is what your character is attempting to do, whether that's kill or humiliate or whatever it is your opponent. So it's more, I think martial arts would be a great direction to go in. But also, I mean, just study acting itself and study actors who are great with nonverbal moments. Like that's what's so great about Indiana Jones and Harrison Ford in Indiana Jones is he has all these great nonverbal moments and behaviors, and Nathan Fillion is very similar in that way.
Jack Sparrow too. Johnny
Jack
Depp.
Sparrow, yeah. So really look at situations where there are actors in those kind of situations where you're getting a feel for their performance and their emotion and their behavior without words.
Yeah.
And I think that'll be another big piece of the puzzle.
Zarban actually pointed out in chat, study samurai movies maybe, and I think he's got the right of it. I would say, and coming off of what Mike said,
or martial arts movies
Not-
in
yeah, and
general.
martial
Yeah,
arts-
exactly.
and specifically pay attention to footwork and just like posture and like how the lower body works and the thoracic cage and the core, and like just really get that, because your arms are solid. Like what you guys are doing with your speed is incredible. Add a bit more of put a foundation underneath that, and I think that's where the intention comes from. People don't realize, but what you sense in terms of intention of like this guy is coming at you, that comes from your lower body. That comes from how your feet and where your posture and where your weight is distributed.
Yeah, and the shoulders.
That's a really interesting point.
It's not just arms. It's a matter of extending and
Yeah.
leaning in and all that stuff. Yeah.
Very cool. I like that point Eddie made about the lower half of your body.
That's probably the quickest way to convey power in your moves too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Power comes from your hips. Like you don't punch. You don't in fighting we call it arm punching. You just hit it. But when you wind up and you've got all that power delivered via your hips, helped by your legs and everything else, that's when, oh shit, that's a punch or that's a kick. That's where the strike is coming from.
Well, your lower body, your legs, is where all of your strength is. Your lower body and your legs are much stronger than your upper body. So to convey that power, you need to use the strongest muscles in your body.
It's your SRB.
Ready to move on here? Let's go flip over to Kyron
Stage one.
Gray here. We're going to load up Kyron Gray if you're here on YouTube. I hope so. We're going to watch this one. 3, 2, 1 on pause. I wonder if... Oh, yep, Ricky. Ricky! It really does look cool.
Yeah,
It's just, it's funny to make fun of you.
Like shallow depth of field at the beginning and stuff is super cool. Oh, okay, yeah, this one.
This one.
Cool. That's awesome. Great effects.
Yeah. See, if we were,
Scene setting.
I will say again, if this were a short film competition, hands down the winner. This one, definitely.
As I was watching it, being
Yeah.
I'm actually technically we never mentioned this, but I am not judging this year. I don't have a vote because I participated in the entry. But if I were, the thing that you, like we were talking about before, is trying to sort of keep yourself from getting too like excited about all the effects and that kind of stuff, because that's secondary to the choreography. However, the choreography is really good in this too, and I actually think it's mostly very good. But one thing like we've been sort of circling around in other entries a lot as well is the performances in this one. I think are really good. As soon as this breaks out, it's like you believe this guy's really trying to chop up that other guy. There's a lot of all that sort of the power and intention we've been talking about right here.
Yes.
Looking at it.
Very enthusiastic.
Yeah. It's absolutely like you were saying. In terms of performance, this is absolutely one to study and see why that works in this film compared to some of the others where we said, oh, maybe work on that. I will say, with all of the with everything else that's going on, I think the choreography actually may be the weakest part of this film. I mean, with the caveat that that's like saying, well, that was my least favorite bite of cake, So
Too much of the chocolate rose.
exactly.
Yeah.
But I think the choreography again, it's a matter of separating kind of what our intention for me. This is a matter of separating what our intention is here today, because as a complete piece, this is really great, and the choreography does its job in telling the story that they're trying to tell. But the choreography is not the star of the piece, and that's kind of where it does its job, it serves its function, just as you would want it to, just if you're going to make a short film and tell a story. But if you're trying to really emphasize the choreography and really show off the choreography, I don't think it's quite that level of choreography.
Very important distinction. Yeah, and that's a very important distinction to make, because people will say, like, some people will even say, like, oh, this is just really simple choreography and what they're doing. Yes, it is. But when they start doing the slow-mo here, you're going to see really sharp technique. Like and it's fight choreography in slow motion. It's hard to get right because it will amplify your flaws in your technique. So something that may have been tougher to notice, they do a good job here. Like these guys have, I think, the choreography to me is very solid. It's not extraordinary or spectacular, but everything is just exceptionally, like everything is just really, really good in terms of very consistent. One thing I liked is when he hit him with that elbow, it made sense because of the range they were in. Yeah. Too many times guys get really close up with their blades crossed, and one guy will disengage a hand, wind up the punch like it's John Henry's hammer, and then clock him with a fist, and that's not the right range to deliver power. A short elbow is. So, and these guys know their range very well, and that is part of why the intensity works. The actual techniques they're doing aren't the most extravagant, but in my mind, that's okay. But it will sort of like prevent you from saying, okay, it's not quite, it doesn't stand out quite as much as some of our other entries.
It's like you guys often say that, about intent, and one of the things, if you compare this, like how many moves are in this versus how many moves are in other people's choreography, this has like 1/10 the move of other things.
I was just noticing
number
that,
of moves,
yeah.
but every move has a point and a beginning, middle, and an end, and to understand like, okay, I'm going to try and attack this way. It gets blocked that way. Damn. Now I'm going to go the other way. It's not always necessarily about how many moves you can get per second. I think this choreography, again, like you were saying, maybe it's not the flashiest, maybe it's not the the most, oh my gosh, that was such an awesome move, but the choreography completely makes sense and tells exactly the story that's supposed to be told. And that's what's impressive about it.
Yeah, that's actually exactly the point I was going to make. I think part of the reason I respond to it is because I don't feel like there's anything here that doesn't really need to be there. It's all effective, and it's don't waste my time.
Yeah,
Stop wasting my time.
The same thing as all you guys have said, but exactly like Trey was saying, there's not a moment of this that I don't believe this isn't an actual fight.
So
even though the choreography may not be as complex or intricate as the other stuff, what's really important to me is, oh yeah, that's
this is amazing.
Yeah,
this is gangster as hell. Look at this. That is some cold-blooded.
What ultimately matters
oh my God.
at every moment is the sincerity of it. Do you believe that this is a real situation and that the people in it are genuinely, sincerely trying to do what they're doing? And
I think that wins the
succeeds.
the most gruesome kill award that we've ever seen.
So yeah, I guess if I were voting, I would I really want to acknowledge this for all the things that it's doing, but at the same time, it's true there isn't a lot of actual saber on saber choreography in this one, like there are in
But
others, so.
okay, can I just ask a question about the title?
Why is it a Transformers name?
Well, it's just so archetypal of those titles. I really want to know, is there an honest question in my mind, were you doing that as a joke or not? And if you're not, I apologize, but I really hope you are. Please, yes.
It does kind of
It's
put in the back
Rise
of your
of the
mind
Fallen.
the thinking that they could pull out Mentos and it could become a commercial. Now that is a fan film throwback right there.
No,
that was way back.
There's I think I'm kind of like halfway between where Trey is and where Mike is, because I think I'm all for one of the ones I really liked a couple of years ago was Jedi Pastors, and it was one that played in backwards. But that was very
there was like 8 moves in it. It was 10 seconds long.
It was very minimal
but it was
choreography,
great.
but that's what I'm saying is that like it's so good in what it does, but there are others that do that as well, and they just happen to have a longer fight. You know what I mean? So it's more, it's like, it's not just that I want a pizza with more toppings on it. I just want more of that pizza. You know what I mean? It's like it's so good. I just wanted a little bit more of what you're doing. I'm a fan. Give me more of that.
Cool. But that's exactly how you want to leave your audience. You want to leave your audience wanting more.
Just something to note is the use of the Force. I really liked a lot too, which is something that's kind of, you can do it or not do it, I guess, in a lightsaber choreography competition. But I don't know. I really dig it. It's cool, and it's a neat way to change locations and stuff like that.
It's definitely secondary, and it should not really factor in heavily into the judging. But I think the execution was outstanding, and all those force effects were super duper cool.
Cool. We're gonna move on right now to Philip Poling, I think. And after Philip Poling's and the discussion therein, we're going to take maybe a 20-minute break, so everyone at home and here can pee, I guess. So let's take our.
I'm going to need 30.
Let's take our last little clip here. You're at the beginning of Philip's video on YouTube. 3, 2, 1, unpause. Oh, there's a cool logo on the video. Oh, Unfold Studios. I get it. It's unfolding.
Actually, I'm really. Can I say, aside from the bumper, which is very good, as we've noted repeatedly, I've actually been really impressed by some of the production logos, the little production company logos. Some of them are shockingly well thought out and designed. I actually have to say.
And it doesn't do the cardinal sin of production logos, which is more time and effort spent on your production logos than your movie.
My favorite thing about that logo was it was over. It was like, oh, that's it. Thank you for not having a 20-minute production logo.
I just want to say I do like this concept in terms of a framing device. of framing the fight and giving reason for it. I dig it. And if people are as curious, like, well, how do you start your fight? Well, you can think outside the box like this, and you can get kind of a lot of mileage out of it.
I enjoy the evolution of this little Groundhog Day fight
Yeah.
as well. Like, you know, he wakes up, he tries to fight him, and he dies. He wakes up, he's like, okay, not today, and tries to run away. And that's, you know, it's and also the progression of developing the fight, because the first time it's very short, the second time it's longer, but it's actually very kind of stationary, and maybe a little linear. The third time it's much more complex and it's moving around a lot more. And I like the element of being thought out in that way,
Yeah.
and the way that it progresses.
It gives you a whole different understanding of his motivation each time you come into this, and you know, each time there is a very distinct difference in his goal and his intention, which in the first one is to fight, the second one's to escape, the third one's murder.
Yeah.
So it's I like that about it. You know, it's much more interesting and engaging when you know there's that element to it.
Yeah, you find yourself, because of that, you find yourself like, oh, he's learning, so I'm, as the audience, I am learning as well, and I'm invested now in this fight. Like, how is he? Because there's callbacks, like from round to round, there's callbacks to certain techniques that finished the fight in previous rounds, and now he's adapting and learning, and then how is he going to overcome? And the little thing at the end, I think, is a nice coda to it. So the choreography is well framed here, and these are guys who know, who make use of exactly what their skills are and are able to present them in such a way to where it works for them. It's a perfect marriage of concept and execution.
On a technical note, we're seeing a lot this year. A lot of people using the warp stabilizer in After Effects. So
Yeah,
well done.
yeah. The very first one that we watched, it was like, I really appreciate them stabilizing this, because this was clearly pretty all over the place. But yeah, again, the kids these days,
Yeah,
the tech they have.
cool sequences of hits in here. I like it.
Right
Yeah.
then, or you just mean in general?
They're nice, 10-second chunks of just cool action.
I also we've come so far since the days when we would be complaining that this was shot in a forest. It's like the only one this year.
Thank God it's not an industrial complex.
That used to be a thing, whereas a lightsaber duel in the forest, we're like, oh yeah, another one of those. But now it feels fresh and unique.
Well, and not only that, it's a very lush, pleasant looking
This
forest.
isn't just any forest. Look at the ferns in this.
Yeah,
It's
I
like
know.
Endor. This is
wow.
Endor they're shooting.
This
at.
is Endor. Yeah, I mean, are
They
these
got
guys from
ferns, guys.
Are these guys up in Half Moon Bay? What's up? Like, no, it's
Well, there was the one that was in the Ewok village earlier.
Yeah,
that
yeah,
was semi-forest.
one other quick note, and that'll be it for me on this one, is that this is a good example of, you have one performer who's actually better technically than the other, and he's the bad guy. Like the antagonist in this is actually sharper, crisper, more skilled, and it lends to the drama, because while I was watching this originally, I thought, hey, how is the gentleman in white going to overcome when it's obvious on a subliminal level that the guy in black is, better. So
I'm not entirely sure why the hesitation before killing him just then. He brings it to his neck and then holds, and then he attacks, and then he has the
It
fighting
kind of set me up to think the next iteration of this was him going to be like, I have to learn not to kill him, philosophically.
Yeah.
Either that or when you have the chance, go ahead and kill him. I thought that was gonna be the next iteration. Was like, it's the Die Hard. Next time you have a chance to kill someone, do it, as opposed to taking the moment. But that wasn't what it was.
You could turn that into a little string of very funny commentaries on fight scenes, actually.
also, I gotta give props. I love the curved saber blade, like the actual curve, like a katana. That was
to their props.
yeah.
Props.
Any general notes for those guys if they were to go again next year? What to focus on? You seem to be pretty up on that one. Everyone seem to like it.
Yeah. No, I don't know. No, I don't know.
I really
It seemed fine. Yeah.
Mike dove for that for the microphone.
Yeah. I could see
Yeah.
a little
No,
more.
but I would encourage these guys to continue thinking outside the box in the way that they did, because as we talked about, I loved this unique kind of take on the scenario, and the way, like Ryan was saying, how that basic idea of the situation influenced the character and their performance and their behavior as elements of that.
I kind of found myself liking the idea of it, the premise of it, more than the actual scene to scene, shot to shot fighting in it. I wasn't as sort of dazzled by the choreography itself as I was by just sort of what they're doing with their entry. And so I guess maybe next time a little more into the sort of the technical and more sort of inspired creative aspects of the actual stick bashing might be the way to go.
This would be one that if you actually did expand it and round it out into a full-on short film, I would like to see that. I think there's some interesting stuff still there to mine. A little more backstory, a little more a payoff to this theme that you're setting up, because the situation itself sets up some kind of question about theme. Think about that and pay it off and fill it out a little bit, I think, if you want to. Cool. If you like. If you go and you have fun.
Okay, we're gonna take
but wear shoes and a coat.
Shoes on before you go outside.
we're gonna take ourselves here a little intermission. I was figuring on 20 minutes. Sound good to everyone? Does that work? Maybe 10.
Do 10.
All right, cool. Then I got 20 after right now. I'll see you guys at 30 after. We'll be back in a little while. Bye, guys.
I was like in Social Network when they break for lunch. It's like, that's 12:45. See you at 3.
So anyway, that's why I'm voting around.
Hey guys,
That's like-
we're back.
You all should go
We're gonna
to the
scarf a
point,
slice
to the
real quick
point.
though,
Yeah,
so you
no,
don't have to
totally,
rush.
totally.
Won me over, man.
Yeah, I mean, I was
Concise, intellectual, good for you.
I was gonna vote for Obama, but I never really thought that. So that's the debate.
I went to Universal. I went to Universal Horror Night last night, and we went to the Bill and Ted Hollywood Adventure, which is basically just their live stage show with pup. Oh, well, I saw him last night. Yeah, because they threw up the credits at the end and the headshots.
Kevin Allen would be a pilot, my co-pilot.
There you go. There you go. So they had a moment, and it was like just everybody in pop culture for the year, and they do a thing, and they play the Hunger Games, and they try to kill each other. But they had one of the characters was Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter, and one of them, of course, was Barack Obama. And so they're like, "Who are you?" I'm like, "I'm the president." It's like, "All right." And they had like a handshake moment. They're like, "Oh no shit, okay."
Abraham Lincoln from that, because Kevin Allen, pilot. And also my next Abraham Lincoln in the movie here. Yeah. By the way, the Silent Hill man, awesome. Awesome. Yeah, it is. Yeah, well, and that's the other thing. What they do is they have mazes where, and they do that at like Six Flags and but so they have the licenses to everything. Like, they have the Universal Monsters remix. So they have like Nosferatu coming at you. They have like Wolfman and all bunch of but this year the licenses are Alice Cooper had one. Walking Dead, and yeah, they get real actors and like really good makeup, really good. But the end it's like really scary. And then for the tram ride, they take you to the tram ride like, oh, we're broken halfway down, and so you get out right at Whoville. Clowns and chainsaws, bunnies and chainsaws, awesome. And then you go up through the woods, and it's walking. This one was more Walking Dead flavor. So there's lots of zombies and like don't open dead side. And then they jump out of you. Then you go through Space Hotel, and then War of the Worlds. But then this year, because our friends got front line passes, and we wanted to stay with them, so we would go buy front line passes. They didn't have the VIP. So we first expect VIP. VIP got a special tour. Where it starts off, and it's like, okay, we're not going to do the thing. Or with the history behind it. And it's a little, people have died here.
Turk McGirt. Sorry guys, obviously we're gonna scarf down a quick bite of pizza. Hopefully you're enjoying something like pizza at the time. We would be totally drunk right now if it was even a little bit later in the day. On Amityville Lake at night is the creepiest shit. So originally when they were filming Jaws, and so it's going on, and then like not even like a minute later, it was like doors up again. And we didn't hear anything. It wasn't like you go jump out and you move. It was just very eerie. We stuff like that happening. Little noises like this, like that. And I don't even hate it. It's just the atmosphere was so good, This one, I thought it. I also have a story about in Florida. You started helping with that. Some other exhibits, some other stuff like that. It's just good because you're around the corner. Come on, no, it's right here. We just got into that now. It was really good for like TV, all the house off the but they opened that house though. That house was something. They opened that house to rent.
We're number one still 10 years later. We're still and Van Helsing was like through the roof, and people paid the money. And everyone, you know, everyone in the park management said, we put $10 billion into the multi-million roller coaster and people hate it. And we got a bunch of guys in rubber masks jumping out and going blue, and people are loving it. It's really like the whole thing where they added my stuff to the dummy ride and made it and fire and they so I found out in the tracking database, the two code numbers that Friday. For months they've been looking at this number backwards. They love the movie and I don't think it's bullshit. That was good, man. My friends, I know, man. Just fun to around late 99 and the tram was doing the guy. I gotta see the right when they get up there in the middle of the floor, somebody takes the door open, dressed as mother with a knife, running towards the tram. Alright, let's break this down, guys. Jim Carrey. Because he was so regret. And so he just timed it, and he like jumped on the tram and just did the Jim Carrey scream that he does, like that, and then just ran right back into the house. And they didn't know, and we certainly didn't know. So. Alright, take your streets, move back into work. Oh boy, who's still time? Oh, we should. How do you know you're not seeing caves? You're seeing sunglasses over the lens. Is that you down or not? Why is that? I'm good. There's a doggo. It's totally close. Are you sure?
You're welcome. So that was our 10-minute break, guys. This is California. This is how we roll.
Hey, the shuttle was 12 hours late, so, you know, count yourself lucky.
Oh, are we too loud? Well, yeah, but it's tuned differently for them. Too loud? Doing all right? Bear in mind, you want to be pulling up Derek Hidalgo's entry right now. Oh, Hidalgo. Okay. Where'd my pen go? Oh, there's my pen. My moderator pin is strong.
He's just chained to the basement. I'm a man.
Ready to go? All right.
Now winning.
I'm a Hollywood star. You are what I say you are.
Maxine will bring dinner down later.
Okay. Let's start this up. So welcome back, everybody. That was our intermission. We're gonna go right into entry number 11, which is Derek Hidalgo. So here we go, and please don't mind our entirely unprofessional chewing, but we're still kind of hungry. Here we go. You're at YouTube, beginning of Derek Hidalgo. 3, 2, 1, unpause, and we're in. Hey, there's a logo on this entry.
They should have a logo every year.
They should have a new logo every year in front of every entry. Hey, another logo.
There you go.
That's another one I like. Concrete Marauder. I really like that one.
Cool. So we're on to Hidalgo here. This one is really interesting. If I recall correctly, this is the one. This is a really pedantic point to make, but this is the one where the sabers look kind of wonky. The blending mode is it's apparently set to normal.
Yeah.
It should be set to screen, but it really should be set to add.
I really don't even know if this was done in After Effects. I don't know.
Yeah, it takes a little bit of effort to look past it. For me, just because I'm that's the thing. So it's
I'm the guy who does this.
yeah, this is the thing. So it takes a little bit of it took me a little bit of effort to look past it. I'm not going to lie, but once I made myself look past it, there is a good amount of clever choreography. It's not just all stick bashing, and more than that,
there's a pretty lady.
The way it's shot,
oh.
They actually do what we've been talking about, which is they do take the time to get in there close, get reaction shots, get emotion shots, stuff like that, and that really helps out because it's one thing to do, like we talked about, whack, 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 and just do that, but to be able to take a breather and to be able to see it affecting the characters and stuff like that actually engages you a bit more, I think.
Someone in the chat chimed in and said it's a LS Maker. That's a lightsaber maker.
That's LS Maker? I didn't realize that was still around.
Yeah, well, there you go. That's why it looks kind of 1999-ish saber-wise.
My only critique here is that it's and it's a consistent critique throughout is that it's it's okay to dial back your choreography to sort of match the ability of your performers, because I think some of this choreography is just a bit beyond her skill set, and that's not a dig on her. She does some things very well, but like the cartwheel, like if you're going to shoot it that tight to mask something, don't throw it in there. It's okay to not have her do the cartwheel. Yeah. As Ryan said, like it's as much as the moves you don't do.
Yeah, we wouldn't come out at the end going, why didn't she do a cartwheel?
Yeah, so I mean, play to the strengths. There's something she does well, and this comes with time, and sometimes you don't have the time to determine these things.
Ooh,
I like the
Force Scream.
I like the siren from Mortal Kombat.
The chromatic aberration reminds me of Push, which nobody saw, so maybe that's not where they got this from. But if they did, hey, I'm impressed. You saw Push.
So I would just say, obviously your guy can do some stuff that the female in this can't, and that's okay. Just build it around that, and just figure out when you are sparring and rehearsing, make adjustments. And by the way, that reminds me of Splatterhouse. Like if you take too long and the world kind of creeps up on you and just erases history. But there's some good stuff there. Just dial back some of the choreography. A little less choreography would have been a little bit more there.
Cool. So generally, if they were going to do this one again, I'll throw one in just as the moderator. LS Maker is awesome, and it's really cool to have, and I think it's free, which is great. And we don't judge based on effects, but After Effects does that pretty well. You could try that in After Effects at some point. Don't want to sound like a douche, but it really is kind of odd to see opaque saber glows over other saber cores. But that's the only thing that caught my eye. I'm not the choreography judge though. Everything they did pretty well though.
Yeah,
pretty good stuff.
Cool setting too. It's cool to have a cityscape in the background.
Neat. Let's move on to Devin Pete's entry.
I think this one is going to be another case in point, if I recall correctly, with the cityscape.
Hey,
rooftop
spoilers.
One.
Spoilers.
I think I might be wrong. That might be a later one.
Anyway, you're at the beginning of Mr. Pete's. 3, 2, 1 on pause.
How's Amanda doing? Uncanny X logo.
Cool.
Yep, there it is.
Okay, how the hell did you do this?
Yeah, I'm racking.
I really want to know how the hell you did this crane shot.
This is definitely like stabilized and stuff, but like I don't see reflection in there.
I looked for reflection. I didn't see it.
Elevator. I don't know what the hell.
Yeah, my initial guess was an elevator until they started to like dolly in, sort of, and I was like, okay, you got me.
Can the makers of this chime in? Are they in the chat?
We're serious.
Well,
please tell us.
But like, I truly don't know what city this is. Like, this could be Dubai,
Vancouver, probably.
Yeah, but the other thing, I think this is a first. I think this is a first for lightsaber fights in terms of having it on like a rooftop postmodern Zen garden. It's kind of cool, and I don't mean that snarkily. It's kind of cool. Like I like it's urban yet we're up high. It's just a nice, interesting setting. So. Obviously, good job on picking that.
So it looks like
quadcopter.
Yeah, they got a quadcopter. Thank you, thank you,
Wow.
Bear Beaver.
Very cool. So what?
Bear
what
Beaver, by the way,
camera
is projecting our live stream on their wall right now. They've got some folks over and
nice.
projecting it full screen.
Well, thank you.
Which is pretty cool.
Alberta.
Alberta.
They'll let us fly
Atlanta.
camera anywhere we want.
Yeah.
Atlanta.
Alberta's crazy with this stuff. I'm
Good place to make a saber fight.
Am I seeing some color grading going on here that feels odd to me? It's and also not consistent. But whatever this color grade is, I'm not loving that. Not that that's a big thing for choreography, but just it feels a little weird.
I think it's a problem with white balance. It's not corrected to neutralize it out and balance it across shots. But
How's the choreography?
I like the choreography in this one actually. You feel the intensity. You feel the intent. You know, it's a lot of strikes to the body as opposed to the saber. There are certainly still some strikes to the blades. This is a good case in point to me. Actually, he's about to use the two sabers, and I think he does in this one. He does a very good job of using them separately as opposed to as one, basically. So this is a good point. This is a good thing to look at for kind of what I'm talking about when I mention that. I will say that this is one where the camera as part of the choreography kind of starts to stand out because there are a couple of shots where the camera is basically straight in a line with them, so you can only see the back of one of their heads and you can't really see what the other person's doing. That's you want to get, that's why they call them camera angles. You know, you want to get at a bit of an angle so that you can get both of them in frame and really see what's going on.
Right.
Because there is a lot of really cool choreography stuff going on, and I feel like we're probably missing some of it because because it's just not quite framed quite as complimentary.
And a nice ending there too. I gotta say, like, come off what Mike said, this, I would say that other participants and contestants look at this for a good example of how to use two sabers, because he's not just doing a figure 8 pattern or a figure 10 pattern. He's not just doing like double stick bashing. He's actually doing stuff that's kind of based off of some more Filipino styles. He's doing like kind of the huba drill. He's doing some other stuff that's kind of cool to incorporate. And it just, there's more possibilities that are there. I have no complaints with the choreography. There's a couple beats there, like when there were two fists kind of bump. I didn't think that was necessary, and like the double stab where they both miss and come off of that moment. But other than that, it's really, really solid choreography, and you know, production aesthetic aside, I think it worked very well.
Any overall notes for those guys?
Yeah, for to add on to the other aspect of what Mike was saying, I think for you guys, I think you've got the choreography pretty well set. The area that I would work on if I were you in that situation is adding the camera as a character and giving the camera more of an involvement in planning out, okay, what's the best way to do. You guys had an amazing camera shot to open it, and then afterwards it seems, you know, it's very most of it was static, or most of it, like Mike was saying, was, you know, not necessarily the best shot selection for the action. So I would try to find some great fight scenes that really use the camera well, both in this and in movies as well, and try to develop that aspect of it for next time.
Although weirdly enough, I was going to say that this one did something that I haven't seen any of the others we've seen so far really do, which was include a POV shot, which has been kind of strangely lacking. And I thought it was one of the more effective shots in the thing, is when the guy goes to the two sabers, we go to him, you know, the other guy's POV, like, oh, this is bad, you know. And that's a moment that, it's like you were saying, it's like that's not choreography, but yet it is really in a sense of, I'm coming at you with two sabers. How do you like that? You know, that's part of the fight, is that I'm coming to mess you up, even though he hasn't begun the messing up process yet. That still feels like it's part of the story. If you wouldn't call it choreography, I still think it's right there in that nether region. So it was one of the moments that stood out for me. So yes, some of the other angles are not particularly properly chosen, and obviously there's lighting issues and things like that. But that one moment I thought was really good to milk as opposed to, and now he's going to two sabers. It's like, he's gone to two sabers. This is a change. Something has happened, and it actually stopped to milk
make
that
a moment
make a moment of it, which was great.
I just wanted to point out that they corrected us. They said Atlanta, not Alberta. So yeah. Keep it American.
So still Canada.
Yeah.
Good. They shot in America, and we can't read. America. All right. Let's move on to Harrison Bay or Bahi, or we'll just call him Harrison B. At the beginning of his YouTube video, like we are here. 3, 2, 1, unpause.
I like Bahi the most, so I think.
Yeah,
If
that's how I pronounce it. That's how I've always pronounced it. So.
Not really Hawaiian, because Hawaiian, there's no B's in the Hawaiian language. But just call him H-Bomb.
H-Bomb. Yeah. Okay.
I believe this is the all slow-mo one. Yes. So this one This one definitely varies up the camera angles, like you were saying, and shoots it, and it actually goes to what you were talking about with the like super well produced one that we were doing earlier.
It's
I can't remember who did that one.
glossy smooth.
It's very smooth, and but the thing about it is, it's going back to what you were saying about the other fight that incorporated slow-mo. This is actually really ballsy, to be honest, because, like you said, any little problem with their choreography would be magnified because we're staring at it happening in slow motion. And there's, yeah, exactly. And there's nothing of that sort that stands out in this one. And I mean, later on, they've got flashbacks and they show it running at full speed, and it looks great at full speed, and it holds up in slow-mo, and that's very impressive to me. It's really well produced. There's a lot of great camera choices and stuff like that, and can't really fault the choreography any way that I look at it.
No, choreography is very, very solid. I'm not. It's not even a critique. I would just like to have a conversation with the guy, like say, okay, explain to me your motivation for the entire fight being in slow mo. Like, I just want to hear it. I'm not criticizing. I just want to understand the reasoning why.
Yeah.
I can't glean that from the context of the fight. Outside of that, I would say I really like the top lit stage.
Yeah.
Why are we not seeing more of this? That's kind of awesome. Like, it's got a weird blood sport vibe to it. I'm kind of digging it. Like,
it's very nicely lit, but all of the focus is just on them. It's very nicely designed, so there's nothing to distract from the scene other than them themselves. I would also be very interested in knowing. My question for you would be: at what point exactly did you have the idea of let's do the whole thing in slow motion? Was that from before you put any word on the page, or before were you working out the choreography and figuring it all out and thought, hey, what if we do this? Did it get to a point where you're like, hey, we might actually be able to pull this off as you were shooting it and decided to do it that way? At what point did that idea happen to come to you? And when do you make that decision?
I may have to be the douchebag here and just say that if we're all looking at one decision that was made and we're not sure why, then that may be an underutilization of that idea, of the concept of doing it.
My guess would be that they shot it that way so they could speed ramp, and then they just decided not to bother with that and just went all slow-mo. That would be my guess. I could easily be wrong. They could correct me.
And it's perfectly plausible and all right that it was just an idea that this would be a style that would make it more dramatic, and that's cool and everything. If that's the case, I would just say, well, in any case, I'm just saying that I feel like then what you really want to do is make sure that you have content in there that's really utilizing the fact that it's slow-mo. Things that wouldn't play as well in full speed.
Yeah, this is one of those ones. If you're gonna go kind of artsy fartsy with it, I say go all the way. Have a poem under it or something. Just something that makes it like this
My dearest Sarah.
Internal conflict or something. Yeah, because as it is, like you say, you're sitting there going, why is this all in slow-mo? And then you see the shots. You see the flashbacks, which also question mark.
Yeah.
But you see the flashbacks to the fight again, but you see it at full speed, and it's really great at full speed. And I just wish it makes me wish I'd just seen the whole thing like that,
Yeah.
So
or at least more of it in full speed. You know what I mean? Like, I will say, and just from a technique standpoint, a lot of people like going to backhand because either they're Zatoichi fans or just because it's not done enough. These guys know how to fight in a backhand grip, and it's kind of motivated, and it's they do techniques that are according it. Like backhand grip, you can get a lot more figure eight patterns, a lot more twirlies out of it, but these guys actually know how to like mount an offense and defense with it. So, and it's not overused. So, in terms of having those sort of quote aesthetically cool things to do, this actually makes sense in the context of the fight. The guy just happens to be good at it.
Cool. Let's move ourselves along then to Brian Belida or Belida, whatever. Everyone's name sucks. Okay, here we go. 3, 2, 1, on pause.
Says Teague Chrystie.
Hi. Yeah, my name is Teague Chrystie. I'm with you people. Ah, this is In Search of a Master, isn't it?
Yes. Which, the fact that you remember the title is a good sign,
So how do we feel about this one here?
It's another one that but it's telling a story. It takes a little while to set up, but it is actually telling the story, and it's informing you of the dynamic between the two characters. I think once we get into once we get into the choreography, the dynamic is not quite as clear because they seem to be about equally matched.
Right.
So it's a good idea, but it doesn't quite to me it doesn't quite play out in the choreography.
There is such a thing as a choreography living up to the promise of the premise.
Yeah.
And I think there's a couple ways you can go about getting a story for your choreography. You can either say, look, I've got two performers who are good at X and Y. What story can I tell that they can best deliver? Or you can say, hey, I've got a story that I want to tell, so I will design my choreography around that. Either approach is fine. I think this is sort of kind of stuck between those two poles because from the title to everything else it's telling us, this is a master and an apprentice. But just as Mike very rightfully pointed out, once they get going, there's not that much of a difference between the two. If anything, the student is probably a little better than the master in terms of like actual technique and skill.
Yeah, which
So-
I mean, it looks great. I really like
Yeah.
a lot of what they're doing. The performance on both ends looks great. I like, just like we've been talking about, the intent is really good, and the strikes are well planned. So they're not just bashing sticks together. Clearly, you can tell this was meant to go for his head. That was meant to go for his wrist.
It's very crisp and clear.
Yeah.
And you can read every move, and their stances are very strong, and everything's bold. And that goes a long way in terms of feeling like they're actually into it.
Their stance and the sort of squat look that they're doing, I actually associate that look with theater fighting. Is that right?
Well,
It looks swashbuckly, but it also is something that I associate with fighting on stage.
it's okay. The deeper stances is what you get more out of like kendo and iaido and some of the Japanese styles because it's just a deeper stance. Fencing as well. I mean, even
Yeah.
European fencing, you have that definite lunge stance. And this is the challenge of choreographing a lightsaber is because a lightsaber is this weird hybrid thing between samurai skills and European fencing because it's a touch weapon. So the techniques kind of suffer sometimes. Just that's the challenge you're up against because there's a few different ways you could do this, and not every time it'll feel. You gotta know when to have more of like a samurai strike and versus more of a fencing style strike or a wushu style strike if you're incorporating the prequels, and God help you if you are. So you're up against that challenge when you do a lightsaber fight or lightsaber choreography. These guys tend to swing more towards like a Japanese style. With some Errol Flynn thrown in here and there. But stage combat is just bigger. All the gestures are just very big.
Yeah.
That's
And
the main
I think it's also, you're certainly, Chinese opera and stuff will utilize wushu, but for the most part, stage combat utilizes more European stuff because that's where more theater comes from, and also because it's less risky to try and pull that off in a one-shot deal like you're doing on stage in a lot of ways, and it's more controlled and kind of easier to do. So that may be why you associate those kinds of styles more with stage combat. But there was a lot of good stuff there. I mean, there was the bit like the groundwork on this was very cool.
I really like the footwork. in it,
Oh,
too.
I forgot.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. There's a little coda here.
Yeah.
Little Avengers thing here.
Uh-huh. Only they have a line of dialogue. Here,
Yeah.
don't they?
Huh? Oh yeah, they're arguing about you should do sound and you should do VFX, which
Right,
I
yeah,
thought
yeah.
was amusing.
Uh-huh.
It's so weird to it for some reason it was weird to me, even though Avengers came out 6 months ago. It's still weird to me to be like we're riffing on a movie that only came out 6 months ago. Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, the footwork was really nice. I like the last bit too, going up the stairs and fighting. That was kind of a neat use of the location. Working it into the choreography.
I'd be nervous to do that. Like running upstairs, doing fight, and in costumes with boots. I'm not necessarily completely comfortable with. That's takes a little sack.
Any overall notes for these guys?
I think those were them.
Cool. Then let's move on to
Zach. Good sack,
More
good
or
sack.
less sack.
Good sack, guys.
let's move on to the first of what will be 2 Eric Whiteley submissions. Whiteley, what the hell, man?
See,
The only thing that he could do more than he's been doing is I'll do 2 this year. That's what I'll do.
we were talking about this before we started rolling. I think because 2 years ago Eric Whiteley won. Last year we were a little hard on Eric Whiteley for his entry, and this
Yeah.
year I think he's like, fine.
I'll
Here's
show
2.
you.
Here's 2 really good ones.
In your face while I melt it.
Also, they're both fully VFX'd, which is pretty
Yeah.
impressive. So, just that.
So you schooled us, Eric Whiteley.
I think all Whiteley does is sit around and make lightsaber fights all the time. Sometimes he even breathes. All right, let's get started. You're at the beginning of this is called Slice, if I recall correctly, on YouTube.
Yes.
3,
This one's sliced.
2, 1, unpause. and there are a group of Whiteley team members watching us right now.
Oh,
so
hold on. They're saying everyone's saying the sound is down right now.
The sound is down?
Everyone in the chat is
All right.
saying that the sound is down. So hold on.
Talk. I don't know what's
Can you
wrong
hear
with
us? Anyone?
Is anyone getting a video or audio?
Oh, hello. Jibber.
We're
Hello.
back.
You're back? Well, Bullet 3 is back. I don't know about the rest of them.
We need feedback.
Okay, Bullet, tell the rest of them we're working on it, because apparently you're the only one who can hear us right now.
Yeah. Bullet. Timmy's down the well.
Yeah.
Go get Grandpa.
Okay, go. Well, okay, now I'm confused, because if one person can hear us, then I have no idea what the situation is.
I have no idea what just happened, but now everyone seems like it's back on. We are we held off, guys. We're not actually watching Slice yet. So are we okay? What's going on?
Everyone, can you hello?
I have no idea what's going on here.
They're not going to be able to.
Okay. Well, that means that their feed started back up again. All right. So we're back. We all good?
Okay, I'm gonna
Nobody's panicking?
assume everyone's cool now. So,
Okay.
have we gone back to the beginning
Hopefully
of
everyone
Slice
just
here?
refreshed if they.
Oh yeah, I'll rewind it while we're waiting. here.
Okay, we're back.
Has Whiteley said he's back yet? Because I don't want to, you know.
It'd be nice for him to be here.
We just watched it.
Yeah.
So that's what we think. Yeah.
I was really disappointed.
This year of all years,
I will never watch it again.
I was pretty sure that Whiteley was going to come back and really show us something, and this was a tawdry attempt.
A clear step down. A clear step.
This
clear step
reminded me
down.
of Obama's debate performance. I was just very disappointed.
It's obvious Eric Whiteley doesn't care anymore.
I was so primed for like this was going to be their year, and wow.
And Whiteley just didn't pull it together
not
at all.
so much.
This was supposed to be his return to the king.
I told my son, don't ever be like that.
Let's not give him the cake. We had a special prize all picked out.
We did forget Prevail, or are we doing Prevail after?
Is Prevail Vaportrails?
No, Prevail is the one where the link was originally broken for us.
Maxwell Sweat's
Yeah.
entry. Did we forget that one?
Yes, we did.
Oh, really?
We did it last. Okay, well, we've been making fun of Whiteley for like 20 minutes, and he hasn't said anything, so I'm not sure he's even in the room. Maybe we should do Prevail first.
All right. Well, I don't think I have Prevail. I'd have to stream it off of YouTube.
Are you sure?
I thought I had all of
Check
them.
it. Hold on. Uh-oh.
Hold
Go
on.
on.
Oh, sorry, guys. Hold on a second. I'm pretty sure I have all of them. But then if we don't have Prevail, then we don't. Maxwell Sweat, right?
Yeah. We do
Apparently
not
I
have
don't.
it.
All right. We'll
Oh, that'll go well.
yeah, we'll find it.
You can watch on someone's iPad.
Well, no, I got it in here somewhere. Hold on.
You're in Google. Search for it.
Yeah. Hold on. Almost there. Of course, this will not.
Sorry,
yeah,
guys.
Maxwell Sweat new link. Here it is. All right, I got it.
Okay. Cool. Can you actually play that for the stream?
I can play it for the
Oh
stream.
my god, eating its own tail.
Yeah, now we're feeding the internet back into itself right now.
And this is the moment the internet became self-aware. What am I? What am I?
And why do I have lightsabers? And why do I like lightsabers so damn much? Clearly, I like pandas and ponies and lightsabers.
It would take too long at this point. All right, well, you can see it here. You can see the top of it.
Wow, big logo.
Apparently, this is what we're doing.
Alright, everybody.
Sorry, guys. You're not going to see. You're only going to
Do it
see the. Yeah, a little bit more English on it. That'll work. Yeah. All right, guys. So
what the hell is going on?
we just had our glitch for this mission. We're gonna watch Maxwell
Whiteley's
Sweat.
back.
Whiteley.
Okay.
Too bad.
Too bad, man.
We went
We're gonna
on
watch
trouble.
Prevail now. We're gonna watch Maxwell Sweats. So pull up that one. Hopefully you have it. Don't look at all my bookmarks.
Fuzzy World, iHeartFuzzies.com.
Okay. You're at the beginning
The
of.
hell?
Hi, everybody. Yes, I literally just dragged the YouTube video over here. Everyone should go to this link and go to the Down in Front forum.
All right,
right.
let's get this over with.
So you're watching the beginning of Maxwell Sweat's video like we are here. Hope the internet doesn't start echoing. 3,
Okay.
2, 1.
Here we go.
Pause. And we're in. God help us.
Okay, well, anyway. This will be fun.
Yeah. Sorry for the off-kilterness of the footage, y'all. Sort of the best I could do.
Oh, you did see this one. Good.
Eddie, what was your opinion of this one?
I really like this one. We'll go more as we see it, but yeah, the color really. I don't know. The color really worked for me in this one for some reason. It wasn't just unnecessary color.
I'm personally
that push in on the guy in the black robes and stuff. The face. I was watching these with Michael Dorkman Scott and
The Michael Dorkman Scott.
the Michael Dorkman Scott and
Holy crap!
the face. I don't know if that was like digitally brightened or what, but I was convinced it was a like a 3D model.
Well, I don't know about anybody else, but I'm glad that somebody finally gave Neville Longbottom a lightsaber.
hey, above the belt.
I gotta say, and I like the costume design on this one too. Like you have the traditional guy, and then like, and I appreciate the different weapons, and I appreciate this is the I will say this is the most successful light whip choreography I've seen. Even better than the one whether it was last year or 2 years ago. It made a lot of sense. Motivating your weapons and when to use them. This is a really good example of doing it.
This is also a really great example of maintaining the performance while maintaining the intensity. I'm extraordinarily like this was.
Look at them go, you know.
Yeah,
There's a relentless sort of quality to the.
This one was a. When we originally got it, it was a broken link, and we were all like, "Meh, okay, fine, whatever." But that would have been a real tragedy if they hadn't got this one in, because this one is really good. And even with this, when he gets the the big spear saber going on, yeah,
that's what I'm talking about.
They're really fast, they're really clean. There's a lot of variation in the moves, but that you again can sense that they're all attempted strikes and not just swinging around and bashing. It's really, really impressive. I really like this one.
I was gonna say this one reminds me a lot of the fight from Troy with Eric Bana and Brad Pitt. Like in terms of knowing exactly what weapon to use at the exact right range. He did a very nice Superman stab that was motivated perfectly because it was the first strike. It's not like he busted out halfway into the blocking. I really dug this one. I can't really point out anything majorly wrong with it.
It's also similar. I was flashing on Troy too because of what the fight is about.
Yeah,
the fight is about one guy wants to kill the other guy doesn't want to get killed.
Exactly. Yeah.
So it's like
one guy's goal is to stay alive as opposed to killing the other guy, and because of that he loses.
Exactly, and that gives that's you understand like okay, one guy is clearly the aggressor, and all the choreography says that, and make sure that that's clear.
I think it's brief, but it's really really good for what is there. It's intense and it's all sweet. If I were voting, it would be in my top 3.
It reminds me of, I mean, we've talked about studying martial arts movies, and we've had some that look like, we've had some that remind more of, Errol Flynn and samurai movies. That was very much a Chinese martial art movie. Very much just, fast, a lot of, House of Flying Daggers or Hero or something like that. Reminded me very much.
But a Western sensibility too.
Yes,
and sort of like that, again, it's almost sort of like similar to what they do in like 300 and Troy. They're recreating a culture that's kind of lost to us, sort of through an amalgam of a few different influences. And that's what I'm saying is like they know exactly what techniques to use, what weapons to use, and out of that you create something that is very much its own.
Fight stew.
Yeah, it's exactly. It's like it's one thing to just throw a karate punch and then a kung fu kick. That's anybody can do that. But in terms of like, well, I'm just saying, anybody can choreograph that. But in terms of creating like a cosmology that is its own, that's a skill, and that's what I think this one does very well.
It's one thing to stack things up one after the other. It's another to blend them kind of seamlessly. Yeah.
Cool. Shall we move on now to Whiteley?
Yes, let's do that this time. I bet it. Watch, he's gone again.
We should make a bunch of funny jokes about how Whiteley didn't enter this year, and then his entry sucked, and blah blah blah. Okay, here we go. So you're at the beginning of Whiteley's first one, which is called Slice. 3, 2, 1. Whiteley. Okay.
Slice.
Whiteley. Oh, and really quickly, he said he used Troy as inspiration for this. So
hey,
good job. That's I honestly say I use that. That's one of like my top 5 fights to use as like a as a reference point. So great job.
So Slice.
Slice hasn't started yet. They're playing.
I like the silent film nature of it. It's always funny to me when when people play against any sort of dialogue at all, just a bunch of looks and.
Yes.
It's like one of those Lego movies Just make noises.
I absolutely love this, and Eric, you know I love you, man. But I'm gonna say this is gonna be my largest criticism of you. I'm not a fan of your taste in music, bud. I'm sorry, Skrillex. I'm just like, if you're gonna do dubstep, there's better dubstep out there. Like, you just come on, man. You're almost there.
Wow. I almost feel like dubstep is cheating, because then you're like, oh man, the intensity. There's just such a rhythm here. So
my heart was racing.
Yeah, exactly. I wanted to just punch some guy for no reason. But you know, taking the audio away, it's still very fast and.
So is he fast on track to becoming like the comedy lightsaber king of present day? Is this
well, sometimes some of them are like he did this one. It's comedy. His other one's pretty serious. Yeah.
No, no, clearly I'm not forgetting about that. But just saying.
What I like about this is that the intensity of the fight and the believability of the fight doesn't suffer because of the comedy. The comedy accentuates it, and the fight is still very much a fight, and you can. It's very true to the. Oh, by the way, that I love the parry down to the tiger tail kick. Awesome, great stuff there. Really good wrist lock takedown. That's a straight Aikido move, but again, blended really well and perfectly timed.
After my comment about being the comedy king, then King Cool himself just popped into the forum and said, "Hey, what about me?" And yeah.
What about you? You submit this year?
Oh.
That's inventive.
Yeah.
Certainly one of the most creative lightsaber designs I've seen in a while.
Also, commendable in the fact that Whiteley put out 2 entries, and there's like 8 sabers going on there just for one combatant. So, wow.
How do you guys like the use of this particular weapon?
It definitely lends itself to a different style that is unique and utilized. Sort of okay. Although being completely unfamiliar with a weapon like that, I will turn it over to Eddie.
I was gonna say, it seems like, and Mike and I were talking about this on our pizza run. It's using tonfa as like a jumping off point. If you're unfamiliar with what a tonfa is, it's essentially a police nightstick. It's an Okinawan weapon. It was a grain handle grinder thing, and then you can use that to swing it around, and you can see a lot of the strikes that they do is what you would do with the tonfa. With that said, I love the ability of being able to catch the blade, and activating, deactivating the individual sabers on it is wholly unique, and I love what he does with it.
I always like when people utilize that. It's an element of the lightsaber, unique to the lightsaber, that so few people wind up using. And you wouldn't want to use it all the time, but it's a tool in the tool chest that if you're gonna do lightsaber choreography, that's something that you should keep in mind.
Do that
yeah.
If you're not using lightsaber.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a lot of that in Ryan versus Brandon too.
Lightsaber Wolverine class.
I don't know. Me personally, I don't like it when it strays too far from really what we've seen in the movies, the classical kind of sword,
just a sword
action. Yeah, I mean, when it gets into light whips and it gets into whatever those are and stuff, it's cool, but it's I don't know. It doesn't do it so much for me.
It feels like
very impressive choreography.
Yeah, it feels like the stuff we would get all excited about on the forums all the time. It's like a light whip, and then there's a
lightsaber.
Yeah, a black lightsaber. Yeah, exactly. And then just nobody did them back then, and now we actually have the technology and we can do it, and now we are. And there's cool stuff coming out of it. Yeah.
All right, let's.
We're all about coulda, not shoulda.
Shall we move on to the next Whiteley entry? All right. Whiteley, Whiteley Part 2. This is Ferocity.
Tell me it doesn't have the same logo as the last
3, 2, 1. Let's find out. Yeah.
Disqualified.
Yeah. Yep.
I really do think he stepped out again. I haven't seen him in the chat this entire time. Good timing.
Oh, it sucks. All right. So, how are we doing here?
Oh, this is the nighttime one, right?
This is the nighttime one.
Yeah.
Cool way to start a duel.
Yeah.
Rolling into frame.
Oh, okay, they're listening. They're listening, but not.
Good. Okay, excellent.
You get off the interstate. What you want to do is you want to go past Kinkletown to First City. They got the finest pomegranates.
Once they get moving, this is really alive. You know, this thing is very energetic, and only in a little bit toward the beginning do I feel like there's kind of like, take your hit. I got to do just a quick spin and a half to leave time to jump back in. But mostly it keeps itself pretty tight.
The speed is amazing. The guy with the double, Shane, he's been in many of Whiteley's things, and he's very good. Because he's got he's got what we talked about in the other ones. He's got the posture and he's got the presence and he knows how to use his feet and he knows how to move and he's really fast but continues
and he's
performing.
got 25 Hot Wheels cars.
Yeah, and he's super dreamy and he's got brown eyes. But he maintains the performance even amid all of that. You can still see that he's performing. And it's not just him. It's worth pointing out that the choreography is not just fast, but it's utilizing all three of them at once.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's not one. He turns to one person and they're fighting, and he turns to the other person and they're fighting. It's like the two of them are coming at him at the same time. He'll use
great.
one against the other.
That's a great
and
kill.
have them moving like back and forth among each other. This one's really impressive.
This, for my money, is actually better than Duel of the Fates. Like for using a double lightsaber and having two single saber combatants. Yeah, very, very cool.
Did you just say this is better than the Phantom Menace fight?
Yeah, I did.
Damn.
Yeah, actually, I'm with you on that.
I'll agree.
I'll agree with that because. And what
They've had 13 years. I should also.
What he does that's so smart here is that, especially, I mean, this is the gold standard for, two lightsaber attackers on one. Not just because he times them out perfectly, but in the areas where he's not able to, he hides it in an edit. He'll go close and it's like, you don't see that other guy, so and it works. It totally works for believability of everybody's always doing something, and also. The way the first guy dies, it totally makes sense because if you're in a grappling sequence with two guys and their lightsabers, someone's getting chopped in half whether you want it to or not. It totally makes sense. Every move is motivated. Every move feels like it's, even if it's just by a millisecond, it initiates and then someone's reacting to it and then that person's countering it. It feels like it's actually happening in real time. All the flourishes that happen with the double saber are for a reason, for a logistical, tactical reason that are there, and they're not just to look good. I can't say enough about it. It's really well done.
Cool.
Yeah, especially with the kills too. It's very refreshing to see kills that aren't just stick bashing and then one guy didn't swing so the other guy took a shot. Like these are very kind of motivated and clever deaths.
Nifty.
Clever is a good word. I really think that's true for the choreography itself, not just the kills. Like it's smart. It's very well performed.
All right, just shit on it some more, why don't you? God.
The only thing at that point that I think you could really improve on it is production value.
Yeah.
Oh,
I want to take up a collection to get Whiteley a DSLR or something
Kickstarter.
because
That's funny because one of the things I liked about that is it really looked like so it's like someone's YouTube video almost of like, yeah, I pulled off the interstate to get like a burger and these three dudes were going out in the parking lot with lightsabers. It was crazy.
This is like the 22nd century version of Rodney King. It's like, do you see what's going on in that fucking...
All right.
I want to shoot one like that now.
All right, let's pull on over to Chris Spenceley, Vaportrail. Let's do some magic here, Chris. This better be good. All right, 3, 2, 1, on pause. Vaportrail and Boater, actually, Andrew Hookway. All TFN all the time here at this TFN-related competition. All right.
Is Hookway the gentleman with the Padawan braid?
It was.
Okay. What was? Spoiler.
Yeah, story.
Yeah. Actually, I remember even long before I met most of these fine folks in here. I think I only knew Trey at the time, but I remember Hookway from his A l'Amour, I believe it was. I don't know if he's in the chat or not, but I do remember you, and yes, it's nice to have seen you literally grow up before my eyes. So I feel like an old man watching this, but no, yeah, it was good to see him entering again some 7 years later.
He is in the chat. He's right there. So he presumably heard all that.
Both of them.
Hookway is there too. Yeah.
So yeah, there's some really creative choreography in here. I like it.
Wow.
Great.
There it is. Okay. So
Moving on to the next one.
The end.
I guess the only thing I would say about that is there is a good amount of clever choreography here. It becomes a pacing thing at that point because there's cool move and then wait and then cool move and then wait, and I think it would be better served to be tightened up and really because then you feel the intensity a bit more, or at least I don't know, it might be it could also be a performance issue because if it's if it's like they're people, the idea in the story is they're really good and they're kind of testing each other,
Right.
then you can come in and be like, whack whack, okay, gonna regroup here,
Right.
you know?
and not only that, just there's a couple moments where I feel like some of the emotional stuff they're going for, or like they could sell the exhaustion a bit more. They could sell the intensity a bit more. Like right here, they're good, but towards the end of the fight, I felt like the intensity tapers off a bit. And some of that is, like you were saying, a pacing issue. I feel like a couple of the techniques were purely transitional to the next beat. And you know, the just on the Tomonaga there, try to get them like directly over you, like directly above you. That was kind of to the side, and it doesn't. That's what I'm saying. It doesn't sell the intensity as much. Like if that was nailed a little bit better, it would have felt just a little stronger there.
I think there are some very creative things, but there might be some things that are almost too clever and are missed opportunities for potential death blows. So that's something I'd point out.
It's similar to what we were talking about with the previous one, where those might be those might still be a pacing issue, because if the fight were progressing more quickly, you as an audience member would have less time to think about the fact that there was an opening there. Whereas if they're doing a clever move and then they're waiting before they do the next clever move, then you are really getting a sense that, well, instead of doing that clever thing, you could have just killed him there.
Also, from an editorial standpoint, you don't need to go tight on some of your techniques to sell them. They can sell just fine in a wide, like with the kick to the back of the knee and some of that. You see that a lot in Chinese choreography, some of the foot play, as it were. Like you don't need to go tight on all those opportunities. They can play and sell better if it was in a longer series of movements on a oneer. I think that would sort of help with your intensity and your flow, as opposed to literally chopping it up. You know, it's like jazz. It's the cuts you don't make.
And again, obviously, you know, cinematography and all of that are not directly related to the choreography aspect of it. But for me, there are moments in here where the sheer lighting of it makes it difficult for me to follow what's going on. There's a lack of separation between the character and the background. It's just very dark, and not all the time, but there are moments where I'm confused, and it's tough for me to follow the action because of that. So. Again, not directly related to a choreography competition, but when it does start to actively get in the way, you have to consider that.
That's a fun little gag, but is that like space water? Where are we?
It's campus space water.
Bottled on Naboo.
So, well, again, we're seeing. Are we not seeing? We're seeing practical lightsabers here. These yeah, at least most of the time. So that's to me, that's the reason for the darkness, is to expose for the lightsabers. So you get the interactive effects and all that. That's very cool. But yeah, it does tend to tend to darken the whole scene a lot.
Oh yeah.
And I think this really that's a really good moment to kind of look at for an example of kind of the overall pacing issue, because it's like and it's very similar to what Ryan you were talking about, and that shorter one with the guys in the parking lot. Mm-hmm. He spits, and then you pause, and then it cuts, and there's a wait, and then he reacts to the spit.
Right.
As opposed, you feel the energy start and stop in the cuts a lot on this one.
And that's oftentimes just an editing thing, is not realizing that you can make it work with less on the end and on the beginning of the two cuts.
Yeah, exactly. Also, it's interesting. Were those part of the rules? There are some patterns that are emerging in this thing. Well, like there have been a couple of double stabs. There are a couple of double stabs in this thing. There's a couple shockwaves. There have been two. Where someone did a force palm towards a lightsaber and like absorbed it coming in at them.
Were force effects a requirement this year, guys? That's probably something we should know.
Yeah.
But were they a requirement?
I'm not judging against them. I just think it's curious if those are all coincidental. Yeah.
It's interesting.
Also,
okay.
We should almost say next year. I would say, what if no decapitations? No. Degree of difficulty next year, no decapitations.
Pistol whips only.
Yes, pistol whips only. Pistol whips only. You're here for battle.
To be clear, and clear up a distinction that Brandon just was confused by. Not force effects, those glowy lightsabers, but actual force powers.
Effects.
Force powers.
You must use force effects.
So, in general, any critiques for Vapes and Boater?
I think we nailed it.
Nailed it. I think we nailed it.
Drop the mic.
We did it.
We got it.
Good night, everybody.
Yeah.
Man, that was hard.
Yeah.
All right.
You're welcome, America.
Before we move on to our last entry of
And
the
Canada,
day,
I guess. Or
Ryan-
Russia. And Russia.
Ryan has some confessing to do.
Oh yes. So yes, the reason I might have been mentioning from time to time that I will not be voting is because I participated on an entry, which is the one we're about to see with.
Oh, so you
Ricky
blowed it
and
because I was
Antoine.
going to try and guess which one you'd participate.
Oh
in.
well, you could do that.
You were credited in one
Well,
already.
but I wanted to just say, I wanted to point it out because I'm going to be abstaining from commenting on this one. So I'll be
So we
sitting
get to ask you
back.
directly what the F was
And,
going on in this one.
Right.
Okay,
Although,
great.
but I will point out that I was not involved in the choreography of it. I just shot it for them.
Cool.
So there you go.
Let's get this last one started here, guys. We're almost done here. Ricky Elliott at the beginning.
Which just means pseudonymously Ryan Wieber.
Yeah.
There's no Ricky Elliott.
There is no Ricky Elliott. Nemesis. So here we go. At the beginning. 3, 2, 1. On pause. God, Ricky, even for your own.
You know what?
Oh, you
I'm
got
gonna
his
say
name wrong because
the
he has
logo
two
looked
T's
just a
in it.
little bit
sorry,
cleaner and
Ricky.
tighter this one. I think he saved the best one for him.
Right off the bat, this is shot horribly. This looks terrible.
Well, fortunately, we're not grading on that in this
I know.
competition.
You can tell from this first frame that it was shot by a convicted child molester. So
If I had a dime for every time I saw a guy choking a girl in a band mask in a factory, I mean, my God,
I'd have $14.
that's so tired.
See, here's the problem. It's not a big problem for you guys, the entrants. But when the lightsabers take a while to start, we just sit here feeling like idiots.
Yeah. We kind of just have to yammer a bit.
All right. Now it's happening.
Yes.
No, they're sabering. They're sabering the hell out of each other. Yeah. And actually, I'll just say, kind of previewing it, but I really like. This is an example of a fight that ramps up in both intensity and technique, and like it earns its bigger moves. Like right now, we're still in fairly rudimentary choreography land, but it really picks up, and you really are. It is very much. It does earn its sort of its ending. I really like how the choreography. It doesn't blow it all in the first 30 seconds, which a lot of people tend to do. They tend to lead with their best stuff, and these guys really knew how to sort of build and escalate to where you get that awesome third act in terms of the fight.
Force effects were a requirement. That was a cool use of the saber throw. Just kind of safer there.
And again, in terms of storytelling, these people haven't spoken a word, but boom, stakes and character. Like we've got an idea of sense of character of all three of these people. We know why they're fighting. We know how they're going to fight. And over the course of this fight, we're going to learn more about their characters through their choreography and through their fight. So that's why I think this one succeeds very much in doing.
Although I actually, when I was watching it, I wound up going, wait, are they both left-handed? It took me a second. They're both, I think at one point, they're both fighting left-handed.
They're both fighting self.
So, yeah.
It looks like they are.
Yeah.
It's not it's not flipped or
No.
flopped, I should say.
The one, there's the one issue with he's got the lightsaber kind of, the girl's lightsaber, I guess, pinned to his costume.
Yeah.
And it looks like maybe it wasn't too secure because a lot of times he's holding onto it or having to like pin one of his arms against himself, so it makes it look a little bit awkward. But the choreography itself is really creative, like we were talking about earlier. There's high, there's low. It is actively seeking to do harm to the other person.
And not only that, you can tell that this whole sequence of force lightning that's going to be there, it's not there now, but the choreography is as such where even without the effects, I still know what's happening. I still know what's going to be done. And I'm very much looking forward to that when it's finished, because that's a cool practical use of an earned moment of using the of force lightning. A lot of guys will just force lightning first 10 seconds. Okay, sabers drawn, stick bash. This breaks from that sort of convention in all the right ways.
This has to be my favorite in terms of creative use of the force and using it to change location and just a lot of really clever stuff. I don't know, just in general, it kind of wins that award for me.
It structures it the right way. It doesn't do it backwards and idiotically like Attack of the Clones does, where it's like, okay, we're gonna do force powers. Oh, that didn't work, so lightsabers instead. It's like, no, it's
And then checkers.
yeah, and then tic-tac-toe after that. It's like, no, there's a progression here, and this gets the progression right.
Really good exchange right there. In terms of again, knowing the distance, knowing what techniques to use. The fact that they threw in a spinning back kick to the thigh, it warms my heart. It is a dedication to the late Andy Hoog. If you don't know, YouTube that shit, and now you'll know. Pardon my language. But it's really good. Every technique makes sense in terms of range, in terms of motivation, in terms of what it's aiming to do. He kicks the guy in the leg to lower the defenses of the saber, and then the choreography is based off of that and transition. So in terms of every move leading to another, and like a true chess match in terms of a fight, this is that. Like, this isn't just stick bashing and then someone dies. This is trying these things. They do work. They don't work. We progress from there.
Yeah, and it's worth noting how just in terms of the performance, how long these shots are going. You know, it's not 1 2 3 cut 1 2 3 cut, which is a perfectly valid way to do it, but we're looking at very long takes, you know, traveling down hallways and stuff like that, and they're really nailing it, and it's complex and technical.
This whole hallway fight, you know, this whole hallway sequence might be my favorite part of the fight.
Guys, did you notice that
and execution?
He just burned his eyes out with a lightsaber?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
okay.
also,
Just making sure we're all on board here.
Regarding that, I have to say, okay, so why does he have the bandana with him? And also, is he blindfolding himself for the sake of Bane?
So I know it's really gross, man. I'm just gonna.
Sorry, dude, it's nasty. Let me cover this up.
I believe that's a production choice.
Well,
So they don't have to have burned eyeball makeup all the
As-
time. I'm just guessing.
I get the romanticism of the blindfolded fighter, though, and also the fact that you're able to perform the last half of this, or the last third of this fight blindfold. Very cool.
Yeah.
Very
It's like,
impressive.
it's like your mom said, always take your bandana in case someone blinds you. Because
you know,
no one wants to see that stuff, honey.
as anyone who has taken a lightsaber to the face can tell you, you know, the burn marks, the wind, it tingles it. It you know, no, I don't know. It's obviously an aesthetic choice, but again, it's fine. It's a callback to a lot of other movies. Anything that even subtly references Bloodsport is got a sentimental favorite for me.
How does he handle the fighting with the blindfold on, though?
It makes sense. It's not like he doesn't suddenly become magical. I mean, he fights like a dude who can't see, like maybe assisted by the Force, but he's very clearly. It would be
He's
better
at a
if-
disadvantage,
It
clearly,
would
and
be
it's
better
good.
if he could see right now.
Yeah.
You know, and that much is obvious. Now he's like kind of coming back, but he's still not doing.
That is
like,
so
crazy
scary.
stuff.
Yeah, I gotta say,
this
this is
legitimately cool.
this is really well done, really cool, and really scary for both of them. Because one guy is afraid he's gonna fall off the roof, the other guy just has to deal with this guy swinging a thing at him and can't pull his strikes or anything.
I'm really kind of curious, and I'm sure that when they made this, there's enough visibility to really see what's going on. But either way, I mean, that's pretty neat.
According to them in the chat, you know, PR or whatever, but you can't see through that.
Oh wow,
So.
wow, very cool.
I can confirm it's actually true. He can't.
Wow. But what is nice about that is that you're doing the blind fighter thing, and there is a ramp up to his abilities. Like, it's not like right off the bat he's great.
Yeah, and what ramps up his abilities is more desperation than a case of magic. There gets to be a point where he just starts swinging because what else is he gonna do? So I like that a lot.
Hey, so there's like a story there. Beginning, middle, and end. How about that?
Get
I'll
out of
call
my
you.
lightsaber competition.
I'll call you. Nice. Good day.
What are you doing in their story? You are not lightsabers. You are story.
I'll friend you on Facebook and stuff.
I'm gonna go now.
So, all right. Where do they park? I believe it's pronounced Nemesis.
How's he gonna get off the roof? He
right.
stands up.
Yeah,
he's
he's blindfolded.
There's that hole. He's going right in that hole. You know it.
injured at that.
All right, so that was the last one there. How'd you guys feel about that? Critiques? Things I could have done better next time, Baba?
Besides the cinematography being god awful.
Yeah, what the hell?
Yeah, it was
Well,
alright.
fortunately, we're not grading on that.
Cinematography gave me syphilis. I mean, Jesus. So
Yeah.
if it didn't do that next time, that'd be a step up.
Ryan,
No,
that'd be
honestly,
great if you could not give me
honestly,
syphilis next time.
Legitimately very cool. I did legitimately like the way it was shot, and if I didn't know Ryan had shot that, I would say that it's legit solid DP work. So cool.
Anything else? We all good on that? Then what we're going to do is let's talk a bit about the year here for a second, then we're going to have an intermission and announce the winners. So we saw a lot of force effects this year, but we just recently figured out that's because they were told to. So
Were they really? Is that
it was a rule that you had to use force effects
okay.
in there.
Force powers.
But
all
not
right.
that that should necessarily.
Fair enough.
Uh-oh.
Oh, God.
Don't worry about it. Let's see what they say, but that might just be us.
Well, if it's us, that's still a problem.
It's well.
Yeah, this is what the hell's that?
Oh,
supposed
you
to
mean
be?
the log into the chat? Oh, we're still broadcasting.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, we're fine.
I understand.
Anyway,
Anyway,
well.
that shouldn't necessarily affect to a tremendous amount judging of a lightsaber choreography competition.
and earlier Mike was saying this is one of the better years in terms of the whole crop that we've had.
It honestly is. A lot of times it feels kind of thin on the ground. I mean, sometimes we have like 27 entries, but only a few of them are really clearly standout. But this one was difficult.
Way
in
more
terms
than
of
half.
judging.
Yeah. Yeah,
Cool.
I feel kind of bad because I mean we all have a top 3, but there's outside of my top 3, there's like 3 I want to just say really good job
Yeah.
to.
We'll
Because-
do honorable mentions.
Oh yeah, but I mean I think percentage wise, this is since I've been doing this at least, and since I've been watching the lightsaber competition, this is the best percentage of really good successful pieces, and even ones that maybe aren't as successful as others, they still have a couple of qualities that are good, and I was very encouraged this year by this entry or by these entries, and not just the ones that excelled, but the ones even on the other end of the Gaussian curve, as it were. I think are on the right path. So.
Cool.
This is the year where everybody found a cool location.
Yeah.
Everybody's got a really cool location this year.
Right on. All right. So what we're gonna do here is we're gonna take a 5-minute intermission. We're gonna do our math over here. We're gonna mute the mics, but the video and the feed is gonna continue working, as well as it has been. And when we come back in 5 minutes, we're gonna announce the winners. So we'll see you guys in 5.
Vapes, you can color correct. Yeah. He says our location was
would have made two different choices.
Hey guys, I hear something. I think they're back on. Hey. You know what's awesome about being us? We know who won right now, and you don't. You're about to find out, though. There should be an envelope, yeah. All right, cool. So audio's up. Woo! Here we go. Thank you, everyone who entered. I would list all your names, but there are 19 of you, so no. No, there's 18 of you because Whiteley entered twice. Okay, cool. The way this voting works, it's very much like the Oscars. It's a process called preferential balloting, wherein everybody gets to pick their top 3, and their number 1 pick gets 15 points. Their number 2 gets 10. Their third gets 5. Those numbers are arbitrary, but those are the ones we use. And then everyone assigns their top 1, 2, 3 to all the movies. At which point, all these movies then have, a 15 from this person, a 10 from this person, maybe a 0, whatever. You add them all up. Whichever one has the most numbers is the winner. That's how it works. It's preferential balloting. We've done it 3 years. It's a pretty effective way of doing things, and it has, yet again, yielded a first, second, and third place prize. The prizes, by the way, are happening. The winner will win.
Was there confusion?
Well, I wasn't sure until a little while ago. The winner will receive 2 Saber Shop lightsabers, and if they so choose, I guess if you half the people in the competition already have Novus sabers, so if you wanted to gift them to someone else, like your favorite entry, that'd be cool. But if you want to have Novus sabers, that's number 1 prize, and number 2 prize.
Yeah, if you want to keep your prize, that's cool. I guess.
If you want to keep your prize, it's pretty cool. And number 2 prize is any shirt in the Down in Front store, and third prize is our admiration. So let's do this.
Set of steak knives.
In third place for the 10th annual Lightsaber Choreography Competition. In third place, Maxwell Sweat comes in third. That's the one. Prevail. That's the one we had to watch on YouTube. Oops.
Can you play it a little slice of it?
I would have to pull it up on YouTube again.
Pull a clip.
Well, we're gonna have to risk sentience again.
We only had the rights to show 1 clip.
Right.
So.
In second place, Nemesis.
Yay.
Ricky Elliott and Antoine Vandelay. Very nicely done. You guys can pick any shirt. One shirt you like out of the diff store, and I'll buy you it. And in first place, Ferocity by Eric Whiteley.
Yay! You can play something.
Whiteley. There you go. So Whiteley wins. Now we're gonna go through
Big upset there.
It's who knew? So what we're gonna do now is go through and do honorable mentions and what we call paper plate awards, which are the shitty little award that you'd make in your garage and say, "I liked it."
It's got macaroni on it.
It's got macaroni on it. Yeah. But
Yeah, you're gonna come home from college. It's still.
But
on the fridge.
unlike the real awards, it comes from the heart. The real awards come from numbers. It comes from numbers.
Yeah, fuck your actual winning.
Yeah, the actual. Yeah. Anyway, so obviously, congrats to Eric and Ricky and Antoine and Maxwell. But what were some other ones that stood out to you guys this year, just around the room, throw in potluck style?
I think we all have a very soft spot in our heart for I forget the name of it, but Hilltop Duel, man.
Yeah.
Seriously,
Those
guys,
crazy kids.
If you're listening to this or you get a chance to listen to this, we really dug what you did. Keep doing it. Don't stop.
Put some shoes on. For
Put
God's
some
sake.
shoes on. There's broken glass. There's hepatitis.
You'll put your
you're
eye
too young
out.
to know what that is. Ask your mom. But no, for real. You guys did a really good job, and you guys are starting with a high level of skill in a couple areas, and if you just fill in those others, you're gonna have a lovely time doing it.
I'm gonna throw it in for Rise of the Fallen.
That's mine too.
Revenge of the Fallen, or the
Change
Dark of
the
Moon,
title.
or whatever.
Just change that title.
The only thing I have, that was badass. I was watching that one when the impale on the head thing happened. Was amazing. The only thing that stood out, and I mentioned it in the beginning before the broadcast too, but at one point there is a turbulent displace effect going on that the lens flare is under, which kind of caught my eye, but that's the only thing I can really say in terms of negative stuff. I just thought it was a really cool short, and I hope it has a long life on YouTube.
My band, man.
Yeah, that was a really cool one. Just in terms of being a short film in general too.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it.
Cool. Anyone else?
Uh,
Mike, what do you got?
For me, honorable mention: the Sith and the Jedi, the all slow-mo
The
one.
slow-mo one, yeah.
Very, very impressive work altogether. Like we said, the fact that it can hold up for like 4 minutes of slow-mo is good work.
Sweet. Cool. And
Good stuff overall. Good crowd.
yeah, I mean,
Well, I want to throw in for the Infinity one just a great example of creating a unique scenario.
The lightsaber reception.
So like the
Right.
Matrix of lightsabers thing, just of doing something different and creating a unique.
Yeah, that was
interesting
Philip
scenario.
Polling's entry.
So I want to say too, the second one, the Jedi short. Like I like that as a short film. Too.
Joe Lucas.
So yeah,
That
cool
was pretty
stuff.
cool.
Very cool.
This was a great year for the Lightsaber Choreography Competition. Hey, Ryan and Mike, it was 10 years ago that RVD happened. 10 freaking years ago.
I didn't want to be the guy who got all pedantic about it, but now that you brought it up, technically this is the 10th competition, but this is not the 10th annual competition. The first one was in 2003. I don't remember which
So we
year
lost
it was.
a year somewhere?
I don't remember which year it was, but there were 2 in a single year. There were
Okay.
2 competitions in a
9
single
years
year.
ago.
So,
All right, cool. Well, 10
but
competitions
yes,
ago.
we're coming up on 10 years since it was released 2003, so 2013 is going to be.
It's not like you guys are getting
10
old
years.
and soon going to die or anything.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, this has been yet another great year for lightsaber choreography, and another great year for competition, and another great year for us. So thanks everyone for watching, especially for all the people who entered and created wonderful shorts, and good luck with future ones that do enter next year. I don't know if we're going to be involved next year, but we'll find out. You know, we never know when we're going to be involved in this thing, but it's always happy. We're always happy to be able to do it, and it's a lot of fun. So for myself, Teague Chrystie, and Michael Dorkman Scott.
Yes.
Oh wait.
Yes.
Oh,
Should I
oh,
be?
wait. No,
Hello.
No, we're doing that right.
Yeah. Goodbye.
Anyway,
Present.
my name is Teague Chrystie.
Oh, Mike Scott. There you go.
Trey Stokes.
Good night, Gracie. Ryan Finifter.
Eddie Doty.
Ryan Wieber. Brandon Flyte.
Thank you very much for watching and contributing, and have a good day. Please don't run barefoot.
Well done, everyone.
Good job, everybody. Hooray!
So Vapes liked LCC before it became all political. Apparently.
Yeah. Pretty underground.
They were saying how